100,000 years ago, it found its way into our galaxy. Trapped in the frozen wasteland of Antarctica, it could not escape. Now the men of Station 4 have made a monumental discovery. An alien creature had frozen, but not to death. And man,
it isn't Phoenix,
is the warmest place to hide.
All right.
Not as good as the Rand trailer, I'll say that. But
No.
all right, welcome to Movie Night Extravaganza. There are 5 of us, which means, I think that, I know that I'm a human. I'm definitely
I know that. Yeah, exactly.
So, and I know that if all of us were, we're the thing. If all 4 of you were, you guys would, all just swarm me and attack me. So someone on the stream, at least one person on the stream, is the thing. I'm not sure who it is, so I'll just introduce the panel, and you can decide in the chat for yourself who's the thing. We have J. Andrew, flamethrower drunk world, out here with his flamethrower, doing artistry, drawing graphic novels, cover art for books, and maybe is he the thing? I don't know.
But you know what? Like, have you ever seen a beautifully sculpted ice sculpture with a flamethrower and a guy 6 into the 12-pack?
Yeah.
That's
Sure.
great.
Sure.
Inscrutable Andy World, everybody.
All right, next we have Conan Gasoline Drank Neutron, Protonic Reversal, Conan Neutron of the Secret Friends. It is Bandcamp Friday, by the way. So
Buy my stuff. God damn it. Buy other people's stuff too, but mainly buy my stuff. Yes, thank you very much, Forrest. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very excited to have both Renee and Bonnie back. This is a rare treat, and it's always great to have you on. And I'm very excited to discuss this very excellent film.
I'm kind of suspicious. I'm kind of suspicious that you're the thing. I don't know. You seem a little bit too friendly today.
We can talk about me being Team Gasoline Drink later, because that is a real theory, but it's not something to start the show with. We'll talk about that later.
All right, we have Renee Ruin, movie reviews at the night shift, Smells Like Girl podcast, and Ruin Agency, coming live from Australia tomorrow.
Time travel.
That doesn't mean I'm the thing. I'm just.
Has anyone gotten nuked yet? I'm like, did we survive the night?
No.
Okay.
Although I've been told that Melbourne is the best place to live if there is a nuclear war, because apparently we won't get the fallout. So, welcome, guys. Come on.
My mom actually told me that. My mom actually told me that today. She's been like doom scrolling the news constantly, and she's like, "Well, we could go to Australia or New Zealand. Those are the 2 places that are like least likely to be affected by stuff."
Yeah, apparently
I don't want to. I don't know.
Scientists have said that it's been going on for forever. That the fallout won't reach us. It'll hit the tip of Tasmania, maybe, but everywhere else we will be fine. So
just the tip.
We're gonna take over y'all if anything ever happens. I feel bad for the world.
Please do take us over. We've been wanting that for a while.
Yeah, I think everybody would be okay with that at this point.
Well, I'm not against it. Not at all.
I should introduce, Bonnie Burton, author, journalist, comedian, show host. She has appeared on a variety of web shows and podcasts, and was the former senior editor and social media strategist for StarWars.com and the current writer and showrunner for Hunt a Killer, which for a good couple weeks or something after having
Not
you
a
on
sponsor,
the last
but maybe
time,
they should be.
I mean,
I was getting the ads for it, and the ads were like dope. They were like, I don't know, I don't think I've ever seen. Well, I don't necessarily think I've seen like game ads that often anyway, because it's not So I guess I don't do that product surfing enough. But they were like real, like they were movie ads pretty much.
oh yeah, we take our murders very seriously.
I've only seen Sam Cedar do ads for it, so I'm gonna have to look this up. This sounds like
yeah.
fun.
If you watch a lot of the really popular true crime podcasters and YouTubers like Bailey Sarian, they're affiliates, so they talk about it a lot. And then a lot of our millennial Gen X or I'm sorry, Gen Yers, booktubers. And then a lot of analog gamers, like, RPG board gamers and Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. So, yeah, so we get a little play there, but we have some celebrity outreach too. We have a lot of people that like to play our games. So I just, and I like to come up with really complicated murders for you to have to figure out. So, which makes it impossible for me to ever be able to kill anyone.
Right.
Because in real life, because I will be suspect number one just based on my Google search history alone.
Yeah. Can you explain how you found all these different ways to murder someone with food? Well, you see,
not just food. Yeah, there's a lot of things.
If you eat the murder weapon,
there's a lot of. I used to go down I would go down the aisle of Costco or Target and point out all the different things that you can buy to build bombs, to make weapons, to kill someone with. So when that apocalypse happens, come find me and we'll do a Costco run.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's talk after. I have some.
My team.
I want to play this game because I love solving murders. So I need to figure out. You need to send me some details on how to get into this thing.
Yeah, you can go to huntakiller.com, but also we're for sale like online and through Amazon, Target, Barnes and Noble, all those places. So everywhere you can buy a game, but this is not sponsored. This is not sponsored. I'm just a writer for them. But yeah, it is fun writing elaborate murders. But I have noticed that, especially when I'm in research mode, if I'm taking a Lyft or an Uber, I tend to only talk about that. So I think I've actually given a lot of Uber and Lyft drivers in LA specifically a lot of good murder ideas. So I apologize in advance to anyone who's.
I'm
I thought
imagining
you were going to say an advantage in the game, but that's even worse. So congratulations.
No,
I'm imagining Scorsese in Taxi Driver when he's sitting in the back of the taxi and he's like describing like how you'd kill someone to Travis Bickler.
Well, I'm curious if my rating's gone up or down based on the conversations I've had with my drivers. So we'll see.
Probably just depends on the driver, I would imagine.
And the mood, the vibe, and the vibe going forward that day.
Well, it's kind of like when you find out what someone does for a living, like if they're a doctor or a cop or FBI agent or a mortician. I got questions. So
I got questions. I got so many. Yeah, I went to a huge building recently, and the guy was like, "This was a morgue." I was like, "Show me everything."
Yeah, show me everything. Yeah, show me the drainage pit. Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Anyway, The Thing.
Yeah, I had a Sam Cedar joke I was gonna make, and I'm not gonna make it.
That was like 20 minutes ago, bro.
No, but no, the thing we're asking about a cop, and never mind. There's
so I rewatched this movie twice. And I watched The Thing that came out in 2011. That's the prequel.
Yeah. The prequel thing, yeah.
The reboot that's really a prequel, but they use so much of the same scenes and the same stuff that it's very much like, is this a shout out to the original, or was this supposed to be a reboot? And then they said, no, we can't do that. We can't reboot perfection, so we'll just make it a prequel.
Did you like it? Because I actually haven't watched it. And I
really liked it. I think I liked the prequel because it ties into, at the very end, they're chasing the dog.
It's the beginning of the movie.
Which is the beginning of the original thing that came out with, why is this guy in a helicopter shooting at a beautiful husky? And then you find out later. But the cool thing I did find out in the original, The Thing, not the original from the 50s.
Right.
The one we're talking about tonight.
The 82 version.
Yeah, so the guy, that speaks Norwegian at them he's saying stuff, but there's no subtitles. he's basically saying, hey, that's not a dog. That's a creature pretending to be a dog, you idiots. Get out of the way. I need to kill it. And then they shoot him, thinking he's shooting some dog.
Nice.
And it's like, God damn it.
Like, who would shoot a dog?
But also, if you're going to work up there, learn Norwegian. Learn
Well, also, yeah,
The 2011 one, they give the two Norwegian guys, they give them names, right? Because in this one, they're just kind of known as the Norwegians, and
Or
apparently
the Swedes, according to McCready.
Yeah, and that does come up in the prequel of there's some like lost in translation issues with, and that just adds to the paranoia. So I will say, even though some diehard Thing fans, including I think Carpenter himself, do not like the 2011 prequel, I liked it. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is the main character. She's one of my
I'm already
favorite
in.
actors.
Yeah, I'm in.
And
Say no more. It's done.
And you know the guy from Game of Thrones that was constantly hitting on Gwendolyn's character, the Redbeard guy. He's
Oh
in-
yeah.
oh
That kid's
yeah,
good, too.
he's
He's
in
great in
it.
it. And there's
forgot about that.
it's a Hollywood version of something, so it's got some stereotypical characters, and the special effects, sadly, they had a lot of practical effects, but because they had such a short deadline, they had to use CGI, and it's not the greatest CGI. I mean, it's not like Kickstarter film CGI, but it's, it would have been better with the practical effects that they already had ready to go. They just didn't have the time to film it all. So I will recommend it. I think it's on Amazon Prime right now if you want to watch it, but it's a good way to tie into the original thing. But the original thing, the 1980s thing with Kurt Russell, will always be the best one.
I mean, I'll probably watch it. I've watched a vast majority of those Resident Evil movies, which are almost objectively not
There are
great
like
movies.
20 of them.
Yeah, and there's 1,000 of them, is what it feels like. But like,
Guilty as charged, Conan.
I know, right? And they're
I watch
just
all of them. I watch all the Predator, Alien
Yep, same.
things. I watch all of them. I watch all the like what franchise has the most? Is it Texas Chainsaw or Friday the 13th, or what has the most movies attached to the franchise?
I think probably Friday the 13th. Although Texas Chainsaw might be catching up real quickly.
I mean, they just did a new Texas Chainsaw, which if you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. I'm just going to do a quick plug for it. It's on Netflix right now. It's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where they murder influencers, social media influencers.
yeah, that's in the trailer even.
Yeah, so it's very easy. I don't root for the regular humans. Like the townie and the actual monsters, but I'm always a monster rooter. So
yeah, Team Monster for sure. So my just if I can tag my derivation real quick, I just want to say that like the Resident Evil franchise is the perfect example of the just good enough sci-fi. Like it's good, but mostly it's just good enough. And if you're like, I don't want to think too hard about something, it's like Ocean's 11 or something. Like cool, I don't have to like work too hard at it.
Yeah,
yeah.
11 of 4.
You know exactly what's gonna happen. Like you can like count the beats.
Honest, I'm also one of those people that loves the animals in horror movies that turn into monsters. So again, that's why I love The Thing, because I mean the dog, but also in Resident Evil.
I didn't like seeing all those dogs die because now I have a dog, and that was the first thing I was
Yeah,
like,
they always split open and stuff, so it's easy to not think of them as dogs.
Yeah, they're reborn as something dog-esque.
Yeah,
by the way, clear homage in Blade 3, which also feels has a cameo of Blade in it.
Conan, yes.
And get ready
Clear
for
homage.
new Blade.
Deadpool prequel. It's a Deadpool prequel, really. If you think about it that way, it's a different kind of movie.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll even watch the Underworld.
Should we let Forrest have his show back now, or you think it's just
No, I had a question. I had a question for Bonnie. As someone that writes and that does like a lot of. I mean, I don't know how much like screenwriting and stuff you've done on top of it. Yeah. So, do you
but nothing
think
to get me like a house in Malibu. Like I do script doctor work, and then I've done so many spec scripts and original scripts that have made their way, I think, like 3 or 4 times around Hollywood, but no one bites on them because they're just too weird. So, yeah.
So I had a question about the newer version of The Thing, like getting us back on track to that. Do you think that there's a difference between? I feel like when I see science fiction movies or horror movies too, it works for Texas Chainsaw Massacre as well.
Sure.
It seems like the backstories of a lot of characters, right? When you get the first version of a movie or an earlier version of the movie, you don't really need a lot of backstory. You don't really need it's more terrifying, in fact, if there isn't really one, and you kind of get limited information about it. It seems like we're entering a phase of like, you know, movies where it's all about backstory. We're like, oh, I want to get into like the psychological, you know, like I'm surprised they haven't tried to make a thing where you're like, oh, let me get into the psyche of this alien character. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we over explain, and I'm wondering, like, after reading that, because I didn't see the 2011 version of the thing, but like I'm wondering if you know, the fact that they like give these characters names now, and it seems like you need more information about them, and like, do you think that there's a difference in the way that we perceive movies, I think, that come out now, and the original kind of like, you know, limited information is better? Because that is a kind of a theorized thing, like, you know, the less you see a monster, like kind of the scarier it is.
Yeah, I think the less you see the monster is good, but right now I am seeing a trend, and I think this trend's been around for at least 5 years now, especially in horror and sci-fi and even superhero movies, is that there's a lot of backstory coming up with characters because they want you to invest emotionally and care about them. So when they die, it matters. It makes you upset or makes you, you know, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't have their backstory, you don't know they've been abused. You don't know they've lost a family member. You don't know that they've gone through a war and maybe they have PTSD. So there's a lot of, I think a lot of people are used to almost having backstory about, explained a little bit about characters, unless it's a one-off. I think the reason that they do that is because they're hoping for sequels and prequels.
Yeah.
What's
even a one-off these days?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Even with, like, if you look at movies from the 70s, I mean, we did get a pretty decent backstory with Luke, you know, with Star Wars. We knew where he was coming from and stuff, but we were
Star Wars, I'm not familiar with
yeah.
What is this, Star Wars?
Here's an interesting thing though, like with Alien, I will say with Alien, we didn't get any real backstory of any of the characters in Alien, but then when you get to Aliens, you're already invested, right? Because you care about Ripley. Whereas I think with The Thing, you don't want to know a lot about this background because the guys in The Thing, all the characters in The Thing are just supposed to be normal, regular, everyday Joes working at this, you know, they're scientists, but, you know, a lot of them are just normal dudes. Whereas the prequel, they did give backstory because you're now in a new generation of film goers that want that backstory.
Like
so
that,
yeah.
So
That's the question, that pretty much the crux of it, I think, is.
Yeah, I think a backstory also helps for people because I don't know if you know this, but people back in the 80s had a different level of attention span than they do now. So sometimes things kind of are spoon-fed to viewers because they don't count on people paying attention every second of the film. So they want to like give you multiple opportunities to get to know the characters as opposed to being too vague, which is unfortunate because I always think, and I think the best horror film directors and writers know that their audiences are smart and they don't want to spoon feed. And I think the best movies are the ones that don't spoon feed you and you kind of have to pay attention. But I have been noticing that with mainstream movies more and more, there's a lot of exposition. There's a lot of like, okay, we're explaining this to you a lot because we think you're too stupid to follow along, which is unfortunate.
I mean, look at George A. Romero, right? Like one of the greatest, I think, horror directors of all time. Not only did he not spoon feed any of the information in any of those movies to you, I can't name, like I've seen all of those movies multiple times. It's hard to like name any of the characters, right? Like there's no emotional, I mean, there's like emotional tension between some of them, but that's never the point to his movies. And
also hard in movies because you only have so much time to explain all the characters. It's not like a TV series where you have time to like really, you know, explore those characters. So you have to figure out what's more important to you, the action, the monster, the story, or the characters. And there's a juggling and the special effects too, like that go along with everything and the world building. So
that was kind of going to be my other question. That was kind of going to be my other question to you. Is it that we've had so much kind of TV at this point that kind of give us these long drawn out storylines between all these characters? Is that part of the reason that we kind of assume that
it could be a lot of things are based on comic books or books that already exist, and so they want to appease the fans, so they're going to put a lot of stuff in there. But when you have a brand new original thing that's not a remake, that's not based on an existing franchise and fandom, then you get to make more risks, I think, and have some more experimentation with filmmaking. Whereas now, I mean, I love, don't get me wrong, like I said earlier, I will watch any sequel, any prequel to any horror film because I'm a horror film buff through. I even watch the crappiest found footage stuff, the stuff that looks like they're high school film projects that end up on Amazon Prime for some reason. Like I watch all of that stuff, but
it's all of Jeff Bezos' 150 kids. They're all making found footage.
I mean, even on YouTube, I watch a lot of YouTube channels that have full movies that are clearly Kickstarter movies, which is nothing against Kickstarter movies. It's just you can tell the budget with certain horror films. I think it doesn't really matter because that proved with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which had a very tiny budget, that you can make an amazing horror film on next to nothing. But I will say the latest Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I was just like, okay, this is what happens when you have too much money and you have too many movies that already exist in this world, and you're trying to be funny. And
is it what I got the feeling of, and this is weird that they did this. Like, it's actually incredibly weird that they did this, but it seems like the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre is kind of playing off of the Halloween reboot, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is that the woman who starred in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is dead, so they had to recast her.
There is so many plot holes in that new Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, is that an Australian actress? Renee, is that an Australian actress that they had replace the original Last Girl?
I think so. Yeah, I remember. That lady. But I struggled to watch that show.
Yeah, it was hard.
There's so many things in there that do not, no spoilers, but there are things in that show, like that film.
Don't tell me if there are any chainsaws.
There's chainsaws.
Don't exist.
That's the joke.
My housemate said, but you're a purist. So that's why I didn't like it.
No, you have taste. That's the difference. Because there's like, and look, like there's room for everyone, and
this was set on fire, so it can't exist anymore. That person is dead. Where's the fucking family? The whole family brood just died overnight.
They have to just like make
stuff. Well, at the very end, I think they did a Marvel thing where they had an extra bit at the very end after the credits.
They did, yeah, to set it up for an next one.
I don't want to spoil it for you, but he does not get killed. Clearly, because they want a sequel. So he doesn't get defeated, but they do show the house in the background. So clearly they're going to do a sequel. They're going to
do something, yeah.
But I would say
a short film too. It was like 80 minutes or something. It was quite short.
It's very visually pleasing. I will say that. Like, I do love the cinematography in the new Texas Chainsaw. But it's like I really love the new thing for its cinematography and for some of the story points. So, but again, I love the original Thing movie because it's so good.
We should talk about that.
Right.
One of the things
we're right where I wanted to start this conversation at 25 minutes ago. But,
half an hour later.
No, so I kind of was leading into something with this conversation. So not only is The Thing based on a short story, which I haven't read, but it seems like from everything, it's a pretty faithful adaptation of an older short story that had already been turned into a film in the 50s, right?
Yeah.
Like that's so I have John Carpenter talking about that process, and this is where I wanted to, because I always like starting with this kind of like point of it.
Let's hear it.
And it's Carpenter, who is practically one of the elder gods and goddesses of this show. So this one.
I mean he's
our Cthulhu.
He's pretty much a member, right?
Yeah, he's coming on next week.
The John Carpenter podcast.
Smoke some weed, play some video games, like he does.
The original film, The Thing from Another World, was made in 1951 and remains one of my favorite movies. It's a great science fiction horror film. It was at least co-directed by Howard Hawks, one of my favorite directors. And it's got some of the greatest early scare moments in science fiction movies of the 50s. And I was offered The Thing to remake The Thing at Universal in 1981. And I thought long and hard about it because I didn't want to compete with the old film, which was greatly loved by myself and many fans. So I went back to the novella upon which both films are based, Who Goes There by Donald Stewart, otherwise known as John Campbell. And it's a vastly different story. So I thought, if we just ignore the first movie and ignore sort of the science fiction tropes of the time and it's the dated nature of it, and go for a more literal reading of the novella, I thought we'd be in better shape. In terms of scripting the film, I hired a young writer named Bill Lancaster. He had done The Bad News Bear several years earlier. I was very impressed with him. And he had a great take on the material, and they came up with some ideas for some great sequences. But as originally written, the monster was not delineated in the movie. There's this cliche about it's always better never to show the face of the devil, never show the monster, always suggest it. And I was struggling with that until I came on Rob Bottin, who did the special effects. And he suggested the kind of secret of the movie, which was the thing can look like anything. It doesn't have to look like one creature. It could look like every life form it's imitated throughout the universe because it's been on its travels for a long, long time. So it was a chance to create a monster that was design-based and based on the movement we can give it and based on some really crazy kind of offbeat ideas. I don't know that there's been a monster done like this. A Robbo team convinced me, and that's the way we went.
That's the way he wants it.
I gotta say, I just love that guy.
He's great.
Yeah, I do too. Andy, I want to hear what was your question? Sorry, you had a question that you didn't get to ask, and I.
That's all the time we got, folks.
Yeah, before I do that, I just wanted to address one thing about the video. The guy who wrote the original short story is a fascist and a horrible person. But there's an award named after him that they give away at Baltimore science fiction convention.
He's also Andy's grandpa.
Yeah. Hey, my grandfather's racist too, but he's doesn't have any awards named after him.
Doesn't have any awards named after him, so fuck him.
Just a baseball field.
I'm trying to curse on that show, but I feel good about that one.
Anyways, the other thing too is Rob Bottin, the guy who did the special effects, also did RoboCop, and I just recently learned, I didn't know this until very recently, he played Pete Buttigieg in Rock and Roll High School.
Yeah. And
he also worked on The Howling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I will say what's most exciting about the guy who did the special effects for The Thing, he was only 22.
Yeah.
He was only 22. Like they tried to get
bonkers.
Rick Baker, because everyone tries to get Rick Baker for movies, right?
Yeah.
And he had too busy of a schedule, so John Carpenter got this kid who was just like, let's do everything. And he was just like learning on the job. And I mean, obviously, was it Stan Winston worked on the dog, the actual dog creation, but everything else, this kid did. And I was like, 22 years old, and you're given like, but here's the thing. They only had like, what was it, $10 million of budget, which was like next to nothing. So it was like for the entire movie. I mean, that's for salaries. That's for shooting on location in Juneau.
And they're shooting in multiple countries. Like
they're shooting in multiple countries, but then they're also having to rent out studios in LA and freeze them. So the inside scenes look like they're coming from somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And just the level of like how you make a movie back then, 10 million doesn't sound, I mean, that's not a lot. And they went over budget, I think $250,000 just in special effects because of what they were trying to do. So it was just a lot. Universal just didn't give them much money.
Well, we were talking about putting that amount of money in context when we talked about Ran the other day on This Is Revolution, the Kurosawa movie. That was 19 million for a 3-hour full medieval Japanese epic. You know what I mean? So it's like so 10 million is, I mean, just putting that kind of in context for what this costs, because this isn't that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not degrading it by saying that, but just like this is it is, the cast is big but like kind of small at the same time, right? Like it's not.
Well,
like
they were. Russell was not the first choice at all. Like they actually wanted Jeff Bridges, which is kind of hard to envision. Jeff Bridges.
He looks a lot. He kind of looks like Kurt Russell though.
Yeah, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
Nick
No, don't say such things.
Nick Nolte was the other one that they tried to cast, which is not anything like. And then also,
man, this thing's all over the damn place.
also-
No, I like the idea of someone accusing someone of being the Thing, and fucking Jeff Bridges going, like, that's just your opinion, man.
I like the Nick Nolte thing, like he's looking all disheveled and just annoyed at everything.
this corpse really ties the room together. Yeah, that's not what's happening. It's
Well,
not
I'm
the
glad
dude.
that they went with beautiful Kurt Russell.
Yeah, it was
Who's-
Kurt
who's
Russell
at his
and,
peak.
Became one
One
of my
other
early older men crushes very quickly.
oh
I
yeah,
must
yeah,
say.
yeah. But
And I already had a crush on Goldie Hawn.
the,
So
the screenwriter.
You and Bobby
just-
Winan.
Wait. Just let me finish. The one little tidbit I'll say right now is the screenwriter envisioned Harrison Ford in that character. So
Harrison Ford too. There's
Wow,
another
you
one.
know what? Huh? That
good.
this is remember when we were gonna do this bit? Didn't we do what did we do it? We did it for They Live.
Yeah, I was just
right?
thinking about that. We did it for.
We should really follow that up on. This is fascinating.
We
I
did
love
it
this.
for. Was it Dark? No, it was Labyrinth, right? That's what we did it for.
We did
Labyrinth.
They Live.
A
We
couple of
did,
them.
yeah, for a couple of them. But yeah, it's a good bit. I like it. It sparks the
Well,
imagination.
it's interesting to see what big studios who they thought would sell a movie.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And in some cases, it was like, no, like Arnold Schwarzenegger and They Live. No, no, stop.
But
No,
Harrison Ford in the
don't
thing
do that.
would have been
But
a
Harrison Ford, I
very,
think, would have been
like would have
awesome.
worked, you know.
It would have worked. It would have worked. I think it would have been.
and
really-
it would have been a different, a little bit of a different character than because I just don't see Harrison Ford pouring ice down a computer. Going.
Do we
cheating
trust?
He
Wait, do
would
we
waste
trust?
whiskey.
Do
He
we
would
trust
not waste-
Bonnie's opinion on putting Harrison Ford in this, because she's been paid off by big Star Wars?
No, not even that. Not even that. I mean, I know it's shocking.
I love Harrison
just-
Ford, but
I mean,
I
I
think
worked at Lucasfilm for 10 years, but I'll tell you, my favorite Harrison Ford movie is Blade Runner. Has nothing to do with Star Wars. I'm all about Blade
Yeah.
Runner. So
Yeah,
No,
Blade-
I
Blade Runner
think
is the
Harrison
best.
Ford would have definitely worked in this. I was just
in the
I just wanted to-
conversation, he's good at that.
I just
yeah.
wanted
We
to-
just talked about. I was. If this was a smaller panel, I would have brought it up already because I was going to bring it up because we covered it. Actually, wait. I guess that was a This Is Revolution crossover episode. But yeah, what a great role they expanded
different
that role.
universe. Different universe.
I know we have a whole literal cinematic universe of discussing.
I mean, it is fascinating to look at these iconic classic horror films and think they almost didn't get that cast. It was going to be
Yeah.
a totally different cast across the board. It wasn't just
Mm.
Kurt Russell. They were wanting.
And I like a lot of the actual, a lot of the secondary characters. A lot of the actors
Wilford
they
Brimley.
are great. Yeah.
That's right.
Wilford
yeah.
Brimley.
I mean, you don't see Wilford Brimley in a role like that very often. I mean, he did do some
Yeah.
unusual stuff, including the Star Wars.
Yeah. How old was he in this? Like 19 or something? Like it's.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's,
even like the older guys, like I love Donald Moffat and like Richard Masur. Like those
Yeah.
guys were like
Richard
classic
Dreyfuss. I
dudes.
think. No,
No, not Richard.
Dreyfus.
no. There's a Dreyfuss in the movie. I'm just blanking on his first name. He was on L.A. Law too.
you know,
he's
he's
a
wanted,
doctor.
I can't remember which character.
Oh,
they
Richard
wanted.
Dysart?
That's
They
it.
want-
Dysart. Richard Dysart. There.
They wanted Donald Pleasance in that cast too, and didn't get him, and that would have been interesting because he's such a different kind of character actor. I can't possibly imagine him in this, but he had.
You know the story of him on Halloween, right? Like they paid him a way more money than
lot.
everybody. Yeah.
I think they paid him a lot on the one episode of Columbo that he did too. Like he was definitely one of the highest paid character actors in a lot of.
Yeah, and he's great. He's great in like everything. But there's this really funny meme that he does the speech from Halloween where he's like, "I knew it." Like he does the entire Michael Myers speech, and then it cuts to like a Wendy's, and they're like, "Sir, this is a Wendy's." And,
That's brilliant.
That's
That's
cool.
Solid name work. Can I just
say? Oh, go, Ken, go.
what this I guess is you if you want to have something on that, go ahead. The Wendy's. I mean, when I say something on that, no. I just want to say that the title effects are also kind of an homage to the original one, like the burning trash bag in front of the fishbowl. It's how they did that is super fascinating.
The aquarium. So they put
The aquarium.
That's
It's a
not- that's not
smoky aquarium.
is that a
right?
Zizek reference? Just kidding.
But it was over. They put a garbage bag over it. And
Yeah,
so
and they
it's very
and
old school.
it's super old school practical effects all the way. Like it's an animation cell that has the thing written on it, and that script, which is the same sort of script, and then it's like a smoke-filled like fish tank aquarium, whatever the hell you want to call it,
Yep.
and then it's covered with a garbage bag, and they light the garbage bag on fire. And what a neat Yeah, awesome. Probably smelled terrible, but looks awesome.
I mean, when you think about all the ways they did practical effects back then, it was a lot of kitchen experiments that you would have to have a lot of fire extinguishers on hand. Just
Right, exactly. You just have a fire extinguisher caddy around.
Yeah.
Just like that's
Well, you look
what does
at-
that guy
you look-
do?
you
He
look
just has
at,
a fire extinguisher.
I mean,
Look
can
at-
we
I don't
also?
know-
since
I don't
we're
know why I'm
talking
blanking on his name, but the guy that did a lot of the practical effects for all the George A. Romero movies, not to reference that again, I guess, that was also in Dusk Till Dawn.
Sex Machine.
Andy,
So
God damn it. Tom
Yeah,
Savini.
Tom Savini, yeah.
Tom
Like,
Savini,
you look at how
I swear to you folks, what I wanted to say was John Stamos, and I have no idea why. I'm like,
Wow.
it certainly was not John Stamos. There's no
talking
talking about miscasting.
I was close.
it's a full house over there at the.
They
at the
sort of
old,
look alike.
But no, but like you look at a guy like that. That guy is nuts, right? Like that guy is out of his fucking mind, and that's why like the artistry that he does on all of those movies works so well. And like
Savini, you're talking about, or John Stamos?
I was gonna say John
Yes.
Stamos is out of his mind too. If you ever
Yeah,
have
yeah,
a
it's a
chance
different way.
to
I'm
You
talking
ever
about
see Play Jones with the
John
Beast for the
Stamos'
Beast Boys?
Australian interview, and you will have your mind blown. He came to Australia high as a kite on coke, did an interview on a morning show. It's the best thing I've ever seen in my life. I watched it live at the time, and it's insanity.
Fantastic. I love it.
And they have to actually like grab him, and they're trying to like make him leave the set. It's the best thing I've ever seen.
No, I host the show now.
I'm just gonna do a quick.
like this show.
little, I want to do a quick little shout out to the music of this movie, because it was done by
It's amazing.
Ennio Marconi.
yeah, who did the most epic Ecstasy of Gold, like the most epic fucking.
He did the
And so
kind
many
of
more,
music.
yeah.
He did a lot of like spaghetti western type music, but his music is so great. But here's the thing, and it's ironic because John Carpenter does a lot of the music for his own movies. So the fact
Yeah.
that this is a different composer, but the music they didn't use for The Thing, they used for Hateful Eight, and it ended up getting him more notoriety. And I'm sure that was not like by chance. I know Tarantino really wanted to give him more in the spotlight, and he ended up getting a honorary Oscar for his music. So in a way, The Thing is an Oscar-winning movie.
Okay, so I need
I like
to
that.
bring
I like
this
that.
up because
Just saying.
right before we went on, right, like 20 minutes before we went on, I texted this theory that I have that pretty much the Hateful Eight is the pretty much.
I'll
the
vouch
same-
for it. I'll swear in a court of law
What
that he
is
did
it?
it before
What
the
is
show.
it?
So I was saying, number one, Hateful Eight obviously is 8 people trapped in an ice storm, much like The Thing is 12 people trapped in an ice storm towards the end of it, right? I mean, Kurt Russell is obviously stars in both.
Yep.
And he's constantly talking about how he can't trust anyone. He has that whole scene with Samuel L. Jackson in Hateful Eight where he realizes that the Lincoln letter is fake. And it sounds like I'm doing a conspiracy theory thing, but it's not. But no, so like Samuel L. Jackson is kind of his version of Childs, I think, in the in Hateful Eight.
Yeah, well,
And-
Childs did have the Lincoln letter too.
Yeah.
So no, so
I mean, not to get too ancient on you, but it also derives some elements from Agatha Christie's, and then there was none, which is very much a paranoia. We're trapped on an island. People are dropping like flies. We don't know who the killer is. It could be any one of us. It's that kind of premise of old school murder mystery.
yeah.
You're just throwing an alien in the mix.
Yeah, there's a werewolf version of it. Actually, 2, because the Howling 6, I think it was.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a trope now. I mean obviously
Five.
it's a trope that's used constantly in horror is who is the killer, right? But could it be an alien taking over you, like a parasitic alien, like who? Blah 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 blah. That's like it feels like it's been troped to death. But here's a trope that I just wanted to bring up. How many aliens are there trapped in ice right now? Because how many horror movies are based on, hey, there's a ship in some ice. Hey, there's some aliens over there in ice. I mean, all of Antarctica's got to be just alien palooza. Not to
That-
mention Alaska.
well,
and then-
it corresponds. It corresponds to what's
Right?
actually happening
I mean,
with climate
and then Captain
change,
America.
right? We get some pretty constant reports about climate change that viruses are coming out of permafrost and things like
Viruses.
the China virus, coming out of
There's
the
an X-Files
permafrost.
episode
No,
on it.
but
There's a
like
Fringe episode.
Was a
on
friend
it.
of show Xander Berkeley was in that
Like-
episode of the X Files.
Yeah, it's a fun
Shout out to
show.
Xander Berkeley.
It's the only thing that makes me excited for climate change is how many aliens are going to get to this show.
Yeah,
they
they're
used it in
gonna
that
pop out.
Tomorrow War movie with Chris
Future
Pratt
War.
too.
Future
Yeah.
War, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought it was called Tomorrow War.
Is it
wasn't
Tomorrow War or Future
I
War?
think
Oh,
it's
I'm
tomorrow.
mixed up.
Yeah.
Literally, no one, including me, cares. So it's okay.
No,
if
no,
you
no.
got
I
it
just
wrong,
watched
but-
it. I just watched it. It was Tomorrow
It's
War.
fine.
You're
I
right.
mean, it's-
Future War is
yeah.
a bad.
But in real life, they've within the last few years, they've found both bubonic plague left in permafrost in the Antarctic. That's like to some, or well, actually that's in the Arctic, I think. But like there was, they found bubonic plague, which is supposedly eradicated. They found it. They found it, and then they also found
a bunch
anthrax.
of Neanderthal stuff and mummies.
Yeah,
and
some
shit.
mummified stuff and some dinosaurs.
Some Mighty Boston's cassettes. It's crazy what you find.
No, but,
out.
like,
Yeah.
so what I'm saying is like as
Yeah.
climate apocalypse has kind of taken over a lot of horror movies, right? Like as a theme, like
Sure.
that definitely. The Thing is a movie that would 100% kind of fall into a very similar. Now I'm gonna say thing, but like that trope.
It's hard not to. It's really hard not to, right? Yeah, you fall
It
into
And
it.
it's also fun to see
Good
newer
stuff.
movies that other countries are doing, like Super Deep, which is a Russian movie that's based in the 80s. It's on Hulu, I believe.
Boycott it. Boycott it. It's
Yeah,
from
we've
Russia. We gotta boycott it.
we've canceled all Russian movies.
We've done just as many atrocities, so let's not
I
pretend.
know it's so stupid.
It's when they took the
boycott posters.
Disney movie off earlier this week. I'm like,
Anastasia.
Oh my god! Can we not
That-
bring?
that
I
wasn't
do
even
not
a
want to
Disney
talk about.
movie, though.
I do not want to bring this into regular politics or
no,
I'm
no,
leaving the
no,
podcast.
we're not. Don't worry about it.
I dumped out my entire wine cellar of vodka. Though. You know what I mean?
I don't do real life shit, so this is only going to be horror, or I'm out.
That's fine. That's fine. It was
Are
a bit
you,
of a joke.
you
That's
kind
why I'm here, so I
you
don't
kind
have
of
to talk about
Ahmed from.
reality.
I can't believe I made this reference back to back. Are you kind of Ahmed from Community? You know, Community. He's only able to talk about.
No,
his
it's
ways and
just
turns-
I'm
No,
older than all
completely
of
kidding
you.
about that.
I'm
No,
older than
completely
all of
kidding
you, and I'm
about
tired
that.
of politics repeating itself. And quite honestly, history just repeats itself constantly, and I just don't want to talk about reality right now because we're never going to go away from it. So I'd rather talk about aliens being in the ice, which is sort of reality because there's stuff in
Does
ice
happen.
that we don't know about. But I'm sorry, I don't mean to be salty. I don't want to deal with real life right now.
No, I don't either. Sorry, I
Real life is so much more horrifying, and I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with reality.
No, I'm sorry.
I could deal with one alien right now. Like,
I can deal with the whole alien invasion. I've been waiting for an alien invasion for a long time.
I like it if they just came down and got us now and make my
Yeah,
Yeah.
just get it over
just
with.
come
Well,
visit.
you're closer to Antarctica, so goodbye Australia.
I'm okay with being
You're
a
all
host
things
for a
now.
parasite. I'm okay with being.
Maybe
an
we are
alien.
aliens over here.
Yeah.
The
I
other-
think I was gonna say,
the other
bringing
movie
it
that
back
this-
to that
oh, yeah,
Video.
no, go ahead, Renee.
that you played before.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
There's two things I was going to say.
Speaking
Like-
of history, no.
Yeah, speaking
Yes. So history that we just watched just a second ago. Two things I wanted to say was one that in the film, the 1982 film, John Carpenter made the choice to make the ending completely different to the book as
Mhm.
well, because the book does not end the same. The book ends
That's right.
kind of there's birds flying and essentially they're going to go spread it and all that kind of thing, and also the other second thing I was going to say, the tidbit, is that the scene where they're watching the clip of the Norwegians, that's actually John Carpenter in it pretending to be
Oh,
the
I love
Norwegian.
I
Oh,
love
that's
Yeah.
it.
awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
I-
that's when we're watching that video, it's actually John Carpenter himself.
There's also
Lame.
3 other endings to the original thing, the 1980s thing.
Yeah.
That we shot that because the only reason that we get that obscure ending at the end, which is, by the way, the last line of the film, Kurt Russell ad-libbed. It wasn't in the script. But he's like, let's just
Mm.
wait a few minutes and see what happens. That was ad-libbed. But I will say that the cool thing about this movie
And
is that
also
it
the
ends on
enemies.
such a nihilistic moment. And the studio, the only reason they agreed to it is if they put in a sound of the alien screaming, so you assume he just got destroyed in the explosion, but you don't know for sure. But they shot like 3 other endings where the main character gets out and he's okay. The other character is the one that survives, and that they both survive. So there's other endings that were shot that were never released. I don't know if they're on the DVD or not, but it's
the same screech. Also, it feels like as it's the same screech. It also feels like as Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is another movie. It feels like there's that scene. I don't think it's the exact same, but I'm saying like if they do the same thing in this, right, where the guy's transformed and you hear like this. I can't do the screech. I was going to
guttural
breathing in. One of the best last scenes in cinema, which I brought up when we did that.
Yeah, they just hang out, wait for the shit to end. It's very nihilistic.
It's like, oh my god, crazy.
Yeah, but here's the thing too: the movie did not do well in the box office, and the critics hated it.
I remember.
You know why? It's because E.T. came out 2 weeks beforehand, and everyone wanted a family-friendly, happy alien movie, and then this comes out. It's like a Carl Jung nihilistic.
Yeah, when the movie came out, my dad went to go see The Thing, and my mom and sister and myself, we saw Fox and the Hound because that was in the theaters too.
I forgot about
Fox and the Hound, and then you went to go see The Thing.
Yeah.
My dad was seeing The Thing while we were watching Fox and the Hound.
Has anyone really looked at that hound lately? Anyway,
I've actually thought about the Fox and the Hound quite a bit.
By the way, I did not mean to say Carl Jung. I meant to say Nietzsche. That's what I was trying to say. Nietzsche. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Whatever.
Yeah, don't worry. You're on a show with an Australian. We say everything wrong. So
okay.
But you just say whatever you want. However you feel like saying stuff, just say it.
Whatever you say, that's the way it is.
I want to get to the bad.
That's the way it is.
I want to get to the bad reception of it. I did have this is a clip on the special effects. I do kind of have. I have stuff somewhat numbered out. Like
sorry.
You'll be lucky to get number 3. Let's put it that way.
You're not going to steal your thunder. I'm so sorry.
No, so this is on the special effects before we moved away from it, and I feel like this is something that we're going to talk about a lot. I found a making of.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I've seen that.
So what's our problem? That thing's not dead yet.
Great. One of the reasons that I'm keeping photos of the thing secret is because it's of the nature of the thing. It's really impossible to photograph it because it's never any one thing at any one time. It's constantly changing. So it has no original form. Therefore, there is no real way to present it. So I don't want anybody to take a picture of it. I felt the original film took the setting and the basic premise from Who Goes There, but I felt that the nature of the monster, the idea of imitation and it being a chameleon, was never utilized in the original film, so I decided to make a version of that. Cut! Great.
It was extremely difficult to find a location that looks like the South Pole, that has mountains and glaciers. In the beginning, I went through most of northern Canada, Greenland, Frobisher Bay, in the winter, and checked all these things. And eventually I arrived here because there was a hotel nearby, a road, and the scenery was quite pretty.
This entire compound, where most of the action in the film takes place, was built on the Salmon Glacier during the summer of 1981. By the time the film was shot the following winter, nature had cooperated by blanketing the set with almost all the snow they needed. It is ironic that in the middle of the snowfall capital of the world, special effects man Roy Arbogast and his crew had to dump artificial snow in front of the wind machines for the blizzard effects.
We look cold. Nobody in their right mind wears this much clothing.
We're in our right mind.
Yes, because we were out here dressed like I dress at home, we'd be in big trouble. Big trouble. Quiet, please. Rehearsal.
And action.
there's this creature within that really takes care of all the violence in the picture. There's not very much of it. It's really results. You really do see results. It's much more of a mind game, much more of a mind violence in what I would consider a real ultra John Carpenter fashion. He really sets it up and then lets your imagination do a lot for you. You see a lot, but I think what your imagination comes up with is probably much scarier than what you see.
The entire film is a challenge because I'm dealing with 12 actors in a kind of group situation. I'm dealing with shooting in very rough conditions in the snow, which is always very difficult. Dealing with big effect scenes, big chase scenes, big explosions. It's just very complex.
It's a study in contrast, really.
Can I ask a quick question of all of you? Because I'm curious about what is your favorite scene in the movie as far as special effects scene of the monster? Because the monster does change how it looks. The creature changes its look depending on every time it kills. So what is your favorite kill scene, I guess, or character reveal? Creature reveal.
I'm going to speak for Andy and steal his because he used it for the Outmart, but like the head with the legs, that's like some nightmare fodder. Like that's like one of my, and every time I see it, I'm always like, oh yeah. That's so
I mean, that scene kind of has a bunch of different parts to it. I feel like the most effective, in my opinion, is when the doctor plunges his hands into the body to do the autopsy.
Is it the one with the heart? When they have a heart attack, and it's the, what do you call it? Defibrillator.
Defibrillator. Yeah. What was it again? Say it again, Bonnie. What was it?
Defibrillator.
Filibuster. When you get up in front of the Senate,
really.
When you get up in front of the Senate and you're like, "Hey, you guys can't pass this law," and then all of a
I don't
sudden,
want black people doing anything. Can we just talk about this for a while? Yeah.
Joe Manchin's head expands and a thing comes out of it
with the defibrillator. Yeah,
I just like how they grabbed his hands and took it, and they actually used a double amputee as a stunt person for that scene. So with fake arms,
good for them.
So the arms could just go into when the teeth clap down, the stomach and the teeth clap down on that, and it was. I like hearing
that a disabled actor got work from that. Good. I mean,
but also that's genius in a way. To make it more realistic looking. But also it's just there's so many great moments in this movie where you get the creature reveal and it looks different every time, and also just it's more horrifying each time. I think. I don't know. That's just.
The one I was going to say as well that I really liked it's not as, obviously the original first dog one, I shat myself when I first watched it. I was so not expecting that when the dog splits apart, and I was like, but the other one that I found really kind of weirdly frightening, and I forget the character's name, is when they can't find one of the guys and he's outside and they find him, and then he does that turns and looks at them and does that silent scream.
Yeah, that's the Invasion of the Body Snatchers scream.
But his hand was all.
His face is all and he does and it's just really, really unsettling.
Yeah.
And even though it's not super gory, but it worked really well in setting that kind of this thing can be anything.
Yeah.
And
well, the thing about the we're just gonna keep saying
the thing about the thing.
The thing is the first scene, right? And I noticed this on rewatch. I didn't notice this the first time I watched it because obviously you watch it. I watched it twice, and you watched it the first time, and you're kind of just taking it all in.
Have you only
the Norwegian guy? I've only watched it twice. Yeah.
Wow. So I think I watched it last night.
So the Norwegian guy gets out of the
First
helicopter.
of all, how dare you?
Sorry, that sounded super judgy by all of us who are allowed to.
Yes, very he's young. We can't hold
typical millennial.
I want to make sure
it's a little bit of a weird. It's a little bit of a weird thing. I've seen.
You're not getting this show back for us.
I've seen most. I've seen most.
I think I'm up to my 21st watch.
Go ahead. Finish your thought. Sorry, we were judgy.
No,
Judging
no,
all
I've seen
people.
most scenes. I've seen most scenes
So,
in this
okay, Boomer.
more than once.
Okay.
And like, you know what I mean? So I've seen
Good save.
bits and pieces of it. But like
Yeah.
I've avoided seeing the entire thing as everyone's been like, oh, this is John Carpenter's best movie, which is the weird thing with a lot of movies. I think like people are like, oh, this is one of the best movies, and somehow I just don't end up seeing those.
Yeah,
movies.
but now it is. It almost ruined his career.
Yeah,
At the time, this was not
we're
a
gonna
big
touch on
success,
that. I have a clip for that where he talks
Okay,
about
cool.
his reaction.
He had an hour 5.
But no. So I think that the scene though at the beginning, what I noticed on the second rewatch is what the Norwegian guy gets out of the helicopter. The helicopter crashes, and he's shooting at the dog. And when I don't remember what the character's name is because it happens really fast. But I don't remember if it's that Vance guy or whatever. But like he gets shot in the leg.
Yeah.
And it's because the guy's trying to shoot at the dog.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, like why are they and they mentioned it again. They're like, well, they were kind of trying to hunt a wolf from from the helicopter. And it's interesting that they finally they kill the guy really fast. Like they don't ask any questions. They're like, oh, Norwegian guy that's shooting, we're gonna assume he's shooting at us. Are we at war with Norway? Which is a really funny thing to think about, I'm not going to reference real life, but
don't talk about real life. Don't do it.
You can imagine being cut off from the rest of the world and being like, did we suddenly declare a war on Norway? Is that why this guy is shooting at us? And then you watch it again and you're like, oh no, he's trying to kill the dog. Yeah.
And like I said earlier, he says in Norwegian the whole plot of the movie, which is like, hey, that's an alien, that's not a dog, get away from him, I'm trying to kill him, you idiots. If you knew Norwegian, you'd have the whole movie spoiled for you.
Thank goodness Americans are rarely bilingual.
I mean, but I will say, that was a conscious choice by don't put subtitles in and have it be, well, what was he screaming about? Here's another thing to take note on.
There's also a bunch of notes. There's also a bunch of notes that are in Norwegian that they're oh, we have all the notes, but nobody's written them in English. And you can think if it was today and they had Google Translate in 5 seconds.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
If it was today, it wouldn't be horror films with cell phones. But anyway, but I will say that
Ferris Bueller's Day Off is a different movie in the cell phone era. It
is interesting with these characters though, and this was something that we talked about very early on in the show. About backstory and whether or not these characters are we want to believe about them, we want to care about them. Kurt Russell's character shoots a guy, shoots one of the team members instead of because he has the scalpel behind him and he's gonna attack Kurt Russell's character Vance, and he just shoots the guy point blank.
Shoots a bro.
And it's like, oh shit, there's no judge, there's no hey, let's take a vote. There's none of that.
No judge or jury, but there's definitely an executioner.
There's a mildly judgmental comment after the fact when his blood turns up and
mildly,
Childs is just like, oh, that was a human, but no one ever mentions it.
He didn't even go my bad, y'all.
I actually feel though that McCready has, from the get-go, you get a very strong feeling that he's the moral compass. And he's the guy who's the smart one. Everyone follows. There's something about him that everyone just kind of accepts that he's kind of this leader amongst them, and he's there to do the good work, kind of thing. So I think, when he does that, they all just ignore it, kind of thing. Oh, well, he must have been, oops, he made a mistake.
Well, if you look on the faces of all of them, though, that's when they're like, oh, shit's real. Now it's
exactly. That's when they realize, because they're like, fuck, McCready killed a dude. McCready's a good dude, and he did it. This is some shit.
Also when Wilford Brimley's character, when he destroys the lab, he destroys the radio, he destroys all the vehicles, a way to get off. Is he doing that because he's the creature, or is he doing that to keep the creature from escaping? You don't know, because it's not really explained why he did that. If he's doing that to save everyone, the rest of the planet, or if he's doing that to basically isolate them because he's
because he knows that it's going to sort of take over, and there's no way to stop it. Therefore, sacrifice themselves.
Exactly. The 2011 prequel pretty much copies a lot of the scenes, scene for scene. The only thing the one thing that's slightly different is instead of the blood test, they look in the mouth because the alien can't have inorganic material, so they're looking for metal fillings in everyone's mouth. because the creature can't have metal. So that's how they do the test instead of a blood test. But it's not as good as the blood test. The blood test was so creepy in the
with the hanger and like they put it down in the petri dish and
it's like
and it kind of I found that like it makes you everybody like that paranoia that Bonnie was talking about.
It's so paranoid and claustrophobic and scary, and you don't really know. Trust.
And people are like, when some of the characters are very strongly opposing doing it, it's fucking with the audience in the sense, okay, is that because you're one? Or like, is it, like all these different feelings about whether it's right or wrong to do that. And then, but hang on a minute, if you're not one, you shouldn't have an issue with doing it. So why are you doing it? Like, it's really mind fucking for the characters.
The same argument that people made for the Patriot Act, by the way. But Forrest, since you've seen this the least of anyone, was that like super intense first time that you saw it? Like with that scene where they're like in the petri dishes? I mean, you're on this show, right? Yeah.
I don't know. By the way, I wanted to put this on screen for a second.
When was the first time you saw the movie? How old were you when you saw the movie? For the first
he was yesterday years old.
But no, I've seen a bunch of different I've seen a bunch of different parts of it. I've never
everybody else. How old were you? Were you guys teenagers, kids when you first saw the thing, or did you
I saw it when I was like 17, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. I was a kid. I think I was around.
I wanted to give you guys give you guys the Kramer, what's going on in there? And
I'm seeing
one of us thing, Jerry. Jerry, you know what I mean?
Coming up with the memes.
No, this got shared a bunch when they first started doing this genre of memes. I just always liked that one.
This meme genre. What a world.
It's a whole.
Yeah, no, I think I was about.
There are 500 of them because I was trying to find one. I was trying to find the one for our Mother Custer's episode, and I had to wade through 500 of them to find the one for our Mother Custer's episode. I'm not even kidding. I sat there for 45 minutes on my phone looking through Reddit forums, and I couldn't find it.
It's about as long as I've been trying to bring up this one point.
Okay, that's meme yeoman's work, is what that is. Thank you.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, no. One of the things I love
railroaded you last time.
Anyway, so
go forth.
I think Andy's the thing.
Well, I seem to have focus, unlike some people here, but
we have focus. We're just not going to let you talk. Anyway,
no. Well, one of my favorite things about this movie, and this is kind of a bit of a screenwriting question too, because like I've only ever seen this done really in like the early seasons of The Walking Dead, especially the first, like where they walk into
the Darabont era.
And like a little after, they're because he had some of his people still there at that point, still, But anyways, like they walk into a place, so you can tell some shit, crazy shit had gone down, but you don't actually know. And one of the things I don't like about the prequel is that it kind of tells you all of that, whereas like the story in your mind of seeing the carnage and what's where and everything like that, I think is a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that as far as like as a screenwriter? Have you ever tried doing something like that for one of your films that never got picked up?
As a matter of fact, I mean, I don't want to get too into the weeds, but like when I write horror, even when I write like murder mystery stuff for Hunt a Killer, I don't want to spoon feed everything. Like I want there to be a level of what happened before I got here, but I don't know. Like it's like when you go into a room that's totally trashed and you have to find clues, right, for a murder mystery. You don't get to find out why is it trashed? Like why are certain things missing? Why are things broken? And I think with horror films, the less you explain things at the beginning, I think the creepier it is. And when you show that something bad, really bad has happened, like I love a horror film with blood splatter, but no body, right? Where you're like, what the hell happened in this room? There's blood everywhere, but there's no corpse. What's going on? Like that to me is more horrifying than then seeing the corpse. Like I want to see
the opposite of Rand.
Yeah,
Carousel just literally stream of bodies.
I don't want to come off as anti-corpse. That's not my agenda or policy.
I'm pro-corpse and I vote.
But I will say,
big corpse. Big corpse has.
I like what you're suggesting, which is, and I think with story writing, that the less you explain, the creepier it can be. I think David Lynch obviously is the king of that. But you show things that are so scary, but then your brain puts things together in a scarier way. And it is kind of like, don't show the monster because the monster in your brain is always going to be scarier. And sadly, or not sadly, I mean, that was just a change in filmmaking and horror where you do show stuff, but how much do you show the monster? When do you show the monster? Do you show at the beginning or at the end or in the middle? Like, it's all up to the horror writer and obviously the director in the end, but it just depends on what scares you more, the thought of something or actually being presented with something so gruesome that you didn't expect. Like,
this brings us to
that's where Carpenter like succeeds in this film. He knows exactly when to, like, he doesn't go over the top with too much showing of the thing, but he also like he peppers it in enough that it scares the shit out of you, and then it like kind of accelerates your imagination on what can happen.
Oh yeah, imagination's always going to be better, but if you can get some surprises.
So this cues up a clip that I want to show.
Okay,
of course we'll attempt to play. Yes.
In the next 5 hours. No, so this is a movie that obviously exemplifies.
You started this never-ending Twitch thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say he brought it on himself. He can't. That's why he can't complain about it. That's
it's a never-ending Twitch stream.
Never-ending Twitch stream.
Yeah, we're not very. I don't think we're popular. I don't think we're popular on Twitch because I think I constantly shit on Twitch as a platform. People got very.
Tell me what you stream.
That. People got like our good friend, our good friend who we are friends with. Mike from PA, who's a big Twitch streamer, got upset with me the other day because I said someone that streams on YouTube was a Twitch streamer, and he was like, "Don't lump that person in with us." And
can't possibly imagine how little anybody cares. Anyway, are we gonna watch this clip?
Well, no, but he cared, and he was gonna come on, and So this is. I think that there is.
Anyone remember Real Player? Wasn't
that? There is a.
Let me go back to that and MySpace and Friends.
I remember having a Mac. I remember having a Mac G3, and the only thing that it would have. I still have it somewhere. It's in the shed. But the only thing I would do is
paperweight.
Yeah, it's a bunch of papers. It's the conspiracy papers. But anyway, it's the Panama Papers. But there's a push and pull, I think, to this whole conversation that we're having, which is, how much of the monster do you show? Special effects artists, like the practical effects stuff, which, I mean, I know I've mentioned him like 20 times on the show, but he's our sponsor, George A. Romero. All of those zombie movies are constantly throwing practical effects at you, which is awesome. Like, don't get me wrong, I love those movies, but that's a different kind of monster, I think, maybe than an Alien movie.
Yeah, there's different genres that work and lead themselves to having showing more. And
there's a conventional sense of screenwriting, which is by this point, I mean, like the less you show the monster, maybe the more it works. And then there's the special effects people that are like, hey, why don't we just put a bunch of fake blood in a bucket and throw it on, you know what I mean? Like so this is interesting that
there are modern examples. Look at Cloverfield. Cloverfield's a good movie because you don't you see the monster in passing until the very end.
Halfway through the movie. You don't see it halfway through the movie. And the same with the original Godzilla. We don't get to see the Godzilla monster till the movie's almost done. So it's
also there's the Cloverfield sequel with John Goodman. That's the found footage one that I actually really like.
That movie's great. I love that movie.
Yeah, he's a bigger monster than the alien. I was gonna say another great one is Dreamcatcher.
Yeah.
The Stephen King one. You don't really see it, but you're scared the whole way through. It's like a feeling.
Yeah, whereas
I wanted to before we, because we can have this conversation.
You can keep going.
At the end of this.
It's your show. It's your show. You
can cut us off anytime.
You literally have the ability to mute everybody.
Yeah, I've become timid since the John Barber episode, I guess.
John Barber was on your ass. He's super busy talking trash about George Norrie of Coast to Coast right now.
No.
Conflict on the set was between the director of photography, Dean Cundy, and the special effects creator, Rob Bottin. Rob Bottin had done The Howling and had generally felt that all the monster stuff, all the creature, the thing emerging, should be done in complete silhouette or backlight or rim light. And Dean Cundy felt, well, if we're going to go down this route with this creature, let's bring it out in the light. Let's put a lab light right on it. Let's shine the light right on this creature and make it visible to us audience, we audience. This is a constant creative struggle. The experience of making the movie was somewhat unpleasant in a number of ways. The first shooting that we did on the film was in the ice fields above Juneau, Alaska. This is essentially where all the weather begins in the United States. And we went up there for a couple of weeks, and it was pretty grim. It was pretty grim because not so much that it was cold, it was actually warmish weather. But the sun would beat down so hard on you. And if you had an overcast layer of clouds, the light would bounce back and forth between snow and clouds. And I got completely fried. I fried up my skin on the thing. I think that's why I've had little reoccurrences of skin cancer ever since because of that experience. Then we moved down to Los Angeles and we shot the interiors. And to get the idea of breath, we refrigerated the stages down to about freezing. Actually, it was a little higher than that, 40 degrees, maybe a little less. And you still had to push it. In other words, actors had to drink coffee and really sell the breath idea, but it was nice. It gave a tactile sense to the sequences. And finally, after all this, we jumped up to Stewart, British Columbia. And halfway up the mountain is a glacier upon which we built the Antarctic Station. It was extremely grueling and debauched, which I won't go into now. And finally, then there was the rest of the special effects shooting, the parts that we didn't do with the cast and crew. And that was equally painful in its own way. But we finally finished it up and got her done.
It's crazy that he still has after effects to this day from it. That's kind of wild.
It's also crazy to say debauched, which I won't go into right now.
I love that. It's like,
Yeah.
Can we please go into it another time, please?
Yeah. Is that for the Patreons? Where is that?
Yeah. John Carpenter, please come on, and we'll discuss that on our Patreon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That'll be after Ron Pertwee gets Peter Weller on. I almost said Robocop. He is Peter Weller, but anyway, hi everybody.
Same
guy. People are talking about it more and more.
Before I forget, I just want to say John Carpenter actually did some of compose and perform the main title music for Studio 666, which is Foo Fighters' horror film that just came out.
Bonnie Burton, the Foo Fighters advocate.
John Carpenter, not John Waters. John Carpenter. Did I say John Waters?
No, you remember.
All right, let's do this. It's time for the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, right.
This is my John Waters introduces the Foo Fighters.
That would be amazing. I would watch that. John Waters doing.
But
something.
now that I think about it, I would really love a John Waters John Carpenter movie
crossover mashup. Yes.
Yeah.
Amen. Let's
put
go.
it together because I think a John Waters horror film.
Cecil B. really demented.
Oh, yeah.
This will be scary. Tyler Perry and John Waters coming at it together.
I mean, if you think about it, Serial Mom is a really good horror film that, just takes true crime to another level. But I'm just saying, I would watch a John Waters, John Carpenter, team up.
So awesome. I love John Waters as a director, but
I would love to see John Waters do a horror just on his own because it would be cooked.
I've always found it just really funny that I think because when I was like a kid, I remember watching. Well, I watched Hairspray, but I remember watching Pink Flamingos, which I should not have been watching at that age.
How old were you? I'm curious. How old were you when you saw Pink Flamingos?
It was a week ago.
No, I was not a teenager yet. I don't think I had discovered.
You were
said a week ago.
I discovered very, very young that YouTube exists, and I don't know. But I've always been someone that's very into drag as a art.
Love it. Yeah, it is.
And so I liked Divine a lot. I liked Divine at a young age that I shouldn't have probably known who Divine was. And but I think it's really funny that as a kid, like I got like caught watching John Waters movies, and my mom was like, "Don't ever fucking watch John Waters movies. They're like debaucherous, like you know what I mean, like something like that." Like,
He's the king of film.
I think that society has like moved past John Waters being a shocking artist. So it's always really funny that he's like on Bill. Yeah, he's like
except for the people that are
being
terminally
offended. No one else has ever eaten his shit on film.
True.
Since.
No one
So he
actually
remains the king of debauch. Like no one else has ever done that.
Human Centipede kind of did. Never mind.
Fuck out of here.
I mean, it was an actual dog shit. Like that to me.
Human
is
Centipede
like,
can go get its shine box. Thank you.
Like Divine was dedicated to the craft of John Waters.
Dedication to a film. That is dedication.
Also, the Egg Lady.
This is quite the derivation, by the way. How do we get talking about this?
I don't know, but I should tell you, by the way, Kenzo wants to have some of us on either next.
Oh, some of us, huh?
Well, he wants to do a movie night extravaganza. He wants to do a movie night extravaganza crossover, and I'm sure everyone's. But he wants to do a Mondo. Cool. He wants to do a Mondo film.
Bring me on for John Waters talk. We've got a lot of John Waters stories because I've been his pen pal since I was 13. I think. All
right, so I'll ask Kenzo if he'll do a. I'll ask Kenzo if we have another show that we do. I don't know where the echo is coming from, but we have another show that we do.
The show now sounds like my head feels right now.
Oh boy! Oh boy!
I do it.
Oh my God, Bonnie, you're the thing.
Sorry.
That wasn't the Aqua Boogie.
That wasn't me being shady.
I was about to put a drum beat on it and call it a song. Yeah, it was doing all right.
I wasn't trying to be shady.
That wasn't the Funky Parliament George Clinton remix of the show.
Calls. Let's take calls right now. We're on.
Buffalo, you're on the air.
We're standing by. Let's be Larry King right now. We're standing by. What's your question?
Walla Walla, Washington, you're on the air.
Before we get into the bad reviews,
you remember Larry King 1 year before he died, just destroying Dave Rubin? By the way, there's a clip where Larry King
I know.
I don't remember.
There's an episode of Larry King's, or I don't remember. Michael Brooks covered this, and it was the funniest thing in the fucking world.
Wasn't Larry King like 92 or something at that point?
Yeah.
He didn't have better things to do?
Okay. But he had Dave Rubin on for whatever reason.
He had better things to do, which is what made it so funny.
I need to play this at the end of the episode. He takes a call in the middle of Dave Rubin interview and it's his son, and he's talking about baseball stats, and Dave Rubin is clearly infuriated, and is like, so I edited that episode of Michael Brooks show when they did that. So the last Michael Brooks live show, he did that. So I don't remember. I think it was Mike Racine did that bit because I was there filming it. Like I was working.
Oh,
with Michael. And they did that same bit where Mike Racine didn't tell him, and then took a call in the middle of talking to Michael on stage.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's a good like old. That's like a old theater bit or something.
Yeah, that's
right?
a power.
That's good. Yeah, that's a total power move.
But
an old show bit.
He was like, hey, and Michael had to stop talking. Yeah,
another celebrity did that on Letterman, like right in the middle, and was like, sorry. And I was like, it was hilarious.
And
he got the news that someone got signed to like the Angels or something. Like there's a whole thing, and he's like, and Dave Rubin's
just having a chat.
Yeah, but Dave Rubin's clearly trying to get him back into the conversation, and he's like, "Wow,
like, no, I'm doing something important." Yeah,
that happened to me when I was a music journalist and I was interviewing psychedelic furs. He got like Richard Butler got a call or something in the middle of a live interview, and he just took it. And I was like, "We're just gonna tape this because it's live and it's hilarious."
Nothing important. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, that's what this is too. So boring. Now, one thing I wanted to bring up before we start talking about bad reviews. Every time, like Roger Ebert, he's the king of critics. Everyone loves him. Blah blah. Here's the thing to remember: he is the screenwriter for a failed sequel for Beyond the
Valley of the Dolls. He sure is.
This is a man. Sometimes it's like that whole thing of critics don't create, they criticize. Just know that he made one of the worst movies ever, and he's considered the top critic. So when he starts ripping apart The Thing, just know he is not a horror person. He doesn't
Yeah.
understand the culture. He doesn't get the whole. He just thinks it's gory for teenagers to throw up at. And yet he wrote Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Well, but he's just a man who really loves big titties. Really, is what it comes down
He's
to.
a Russ Meyer wannabe.
Yeah, exactly.
That's.
I mean,
he is a good critic, but just keep in mind, critics don't know everything. So I just felt so bad when The Thing got lambasted by critics for just being a hack film, when in fact it's such a good film.
well, I think it's been.
Yes.
Come on, at this point, hasn't culture recognized the fact that this is an important film? They certainly have on Letterboxd.
Now, but I mean that didn't help
Yeah.
John Carpenter's career. It almost ruined
That's
his
true.
career, and he got
That's
blackballed, and he didn't have any work for a very long time because of this movie bombing. Basically,
Whereas Roger Ebert only got blue balls, so it works out.
I mean, I'm not gonna talk about ball. I'm not an expert in that, but I will
That's
say
what-
that it's just
Yeah.
sad to see a great classic get totally
That's
shredded.
my biggest like
I
qualm
agree.
in general though with horror and sci-fi is that they're always given bad reviews because they're always reviewed by people who don't like horror or don't like sci-fi, who shouldn't be allowed to.
Yeah,
to
that's why.
review.
If you don't like the genre, why are you reviewing
Well,
it?
Yeah, you shouldn't do it. If
You're
you come up with-
Recuse yourself, like the Supreme Court is supposed to. Anyway.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
will. I mean, I was a movie critic for a very long time, movie and TV critic, and I tell you, I only would write articles about genres that I knew a lot about. I wouldn't go in there and talk about like a sports movie. I'm not going to review
Yeah.
a sports movie. I
It's
don't
not
know
fair.
anything about
Right.
sports. I don't care
Yeah.
about sports, so I'm not going to review that. But horror films, and I think specifically, not to pull the gender card, but I think there needs to be more women, more people of color, more people from the gay community doing reviews on horror, because they bring up really, especially these young directors and new movies,
Yeah.
bring up a lot of great themes and characters and stuff that straight white dudes aren't. Not this group, but normal
Yeah.
straight white dudes.
We're talking about like
Yeah.
55 to 65.
Normal.
When I say
Yeah.
you're not normal, that's a compliment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Taken as such, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
But then
compliment.
also, by the same token, this is a radically different conversation. But
Yeah.
there's certain movies like that. Was it Titania? I saw that and I was like, you know what? This was good, but there's too many ideas in it. And honestly, if the person making it wasn't who she was, I'm not sure if people would have given it as much glory and attention. But I did like it. It's just like it's one of the few movies like I wish you could farm out some of the ideas for this movie for some of these other movies that have no ideas. Because like there's almost too much going on in this, and I love it, even though it's like oh, it's like millennial Cronenberg crash. Yeah,
Well,
but
also, keep
good.
in mind, there's a lot of critics out there now who have zero background in film history or film. They never take.
It's a blank sheet of paper. I was gonna pull an actual sheet of paper out, but it's a blank sheet of paper.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like I care more about people
Thank
who
you,
love
Andy.
film. Like I care more about this group's opinion about
Andy with
horror
the
films,
assist.
because you guys love horror and you know horror films
Yeah.
inside and out. Than I would like a regular movie reviewer who doesn't give a shit about horror. I'm not going to care what he thinks, but I care about what you guys think.
Well,
And
we had this a pretty similar conversation. I think a few months back. We had Deborah Vahores on and who just did that movie 13 Fanboy. Voorhees. Deborah Voorhees.
I was gonna say I was about to correct you, but I was like I know Andy will. So
You don't want to mess up a Voorhees last name.
So she came on to talk about directing 13 Fanboy, and we had a whole conversation with her about fans within the horror community, specifically fan culture, like her role in Friday the 13th, the fifth one, like
something like that.
Yeah, I think it was Friday the 13th 5. like her movie was literally a horror, like a slasher film that and I'm not gonna lie, the first time I watched it I didn't care for it as much as after we had the conversation with her. I was like, oh shit, like this was actually a really good conversation. Like we had an incredibly interesting discussion about this movie, and it lasted for an hour, way less than any other episode we've done. But no, and it was.
She only gave us a half hour or 45 minutes.
Yeah, and then she stayed on for an hour and 10, I think. But
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Meanwhile, I
had
think
the-
what was our aliens podcast? Was that the alien podcast was like 4 hours?
It's still going. It's actually still going right now. Yeah.
Yeah, we never stopped.
No, so I found that conversation really fascinating. But what that movie kind of showed me watching it is that, because they went to real conventions right before the pandemic hit, and a lot of the people in it are like just fans that happen to be there, and the movie is about horror movie fan culture, like a guy that is really into slasher movies comes back as a slasher and then goes after his favorite horror movie characters, like pretty much is the plot of it.
Right.
But like realizing that, like, no, this is something that, number one, people are incredibly and she said she's never had an experience really, besides she has some guy on Facebook that, like, I guess she got the idea because some guy was texting her being like, threatening messages or whatever. But like, besides that, she said her experiences have all been good, but like, this is its own subculture, right? Like, this is, and the internet really has made that very possible, right? Like, everything has a subculture when it comes to films, when it comes to, video games, when it, any kind of art, really. Like, you can just kind of find your own, and that didn't start online, but like it does kind of come into its own universe almost. And someone, the long
it was
point that
definitely solidified by the internet. Like,
yeah,
you can find all your fellow horror
the macro point. The macro point I'm trying to get to.
Usenet was that.
The macro point I'm trying to get to within this is that someone like Roger Ebert might be someone that does a very good job talking about like whatever film is best rated that year, or like whatever film is going to win an Oscar that year. Like, but and it's been criticized a whole bunch with him. Like, slasher movies were not like Ebert or Siskel. Like they had no, they had no really anything to say besides the same thing over and over again. Like, oh, this is the same thing as this last slasher movie I watched. But there are, thousands of people that really care about that as a genre, that are really into that as a genre. And in the same way, it just feels like, I do like that the internet's kind of given people the opportunity to actually say, hey, these are movies that I like in the subgenre of horror that I like. Like, I'm into this. Let's talk about that way. But I think that there's always going to be blind spots, and it's interesting. And it's interesting that you can kind of just see that now. And they're both passed on or whatever, but like the heyday of slasher movies, Siskel and Ebert kind of reigned at that point.
They are, but like, so first of all, on that first point, I think it's a lot easier for subcultures and subgenres to be able to have their community and find their people, which is beautiful and amazing, and one of the best success stories of the internet. But by the same token, Siskel and Ebert weren't this like hegemony of just staid conservative values or anything along those lines.
No, it's
they just had a complete and utter blind spot towards anything for genre. Yeah, I agree with that. But the point that I'm trying to make is that if you look at a lot of the stuff that was not genre films, horror, sci-fi especially, Ebert was ahead of the curve for a lot of stuff. Ebert more than Siskel, to be clear. And we could talk about the relative merits of both and why that actually was a great pairing and why that was a good show that was actually very important for criticism and movie watching at the time.
That's
another
like a great episode. Let's do that some other time.
I'm completely into doing that because I think it's fascinating. But the point of fact is that there's certain things that, like, it's one person's opinion, right? And remember, and I feel like I'm introing the Letterboxd reviews right now, but now it's a bottom-up democracy. Everyone gets to have their say. Good, bad.
All right, we can do that.
I've been blurbed in a lot of movie posters. I was blurbed in the latest Bill and Ted movie. I got a blurb.
Because you're brilliant and you said something funny and cool.
I will tell you though, Roger Ebert did this thing every year before he passed away at the World Affairs Conference in Boulder, Colorado, at University of Colorado Boulder, where I went to school, because I had a majorly impressive film program, and they always brought him in to dissect a movie of the time, and he would go through it frame by frame and really dissect it. And that's what his, he is very good at that. He understands filmmaking very well. Genre, I will say that horror was a blind spot for him, but he did give this movie some accolades as well. It wasn't totally panned. But the thing about him, though, is that he also, it's all about character development. It's all about the mainstream stuff, which is why people watched him, because of mainstream people. That it used to be an era, believe it or not, where people valued the opinions of critics, where I don't think they do now. And
because that was the only option. There was no other option.
Well, I care more about what Joe Bob Briggs thinks than I did Ebert, because Joe Bob Briggs was a great horror fan, but also he was schooled in film. He had a film degree, and he was a real critic, but he also knew the backstories and the history and all this great stuff. That's why his show on Shudder is still going strong, and why it went strong on Comedy Central and before that TNT, because he knows the genre inside and out and he loves the genre. So you respect his opinion. Whereas Ebert and Siskel, they span everything from foreign films no one watched to mainstream things like Titanic. They had an opinion, and they did have like the background to back it up and the accolades and stuff. But it's so disheartening though to see mainstream critics rip apart horror, or not even rip apart it, but just put it in a classification as this is for teenagers to throw up at. Like it just makes me angry.
Right.
And so every time I see mainstream people put down horror or put down sci-fi or put down
It's not for
fantasy,
you. It's not for you.
and
You don't get a chance.
it's like you're not getting the big picture. Like Rosemary's Baby won an Oscar for a reason. Like Jaws won Oscars for a reason. Like these movies are horror films and they have amazing stories and amazing characters.
Look
So
at
we
Get
can't-
Out. Look at a recent example, right? Like,
Exactly,
Get Out's a perfect example. So I'm hoping that changes, and I'm hoping more horror films get the accolades and the applause that they deserve, because it is a genre that's very complex, takes chances, takes more risks, and tends to show reality in a different way than most movies do. So
And I think when it comes to like LGBTQ people, right? Like it took a lot of risks.
And Blumhouse, I don't think Blumhouse can be hit or
Blumhouse
miss.
is really,
But Blumhouse is willing to do a lot of like gay characters, and they do a lot of trans, and like, you know what I mean? Like but not as the evil. Like that's the problem with the trans community too, is a lot of times trans has been considered the villains of most horror films.
And gay characters too still. I mean, like they get when they're not the evil characters, they get killed off really
they're
fast.
either demonized or they're victims. Very rarely
Yeah.
are they the hero or the protagonist. So it's I think horror is changing with that, especially mainstream horror. But The Thing was one of those movies where there's no romance. All right, there's no female characters unless you count the voice of John Carpenter's ex-wife.
Thank God. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah.
Well, there's a female there, but you know what I mean? Like when I have to pitch things, when I'm in pitch meetings, I still have PTSD from pitch meetings where they're like, they're like, oh, well, the way we've been testing audiences, they're really into romance. Can there be a romance?
Fidget spinners are really big this year. Can we have a fidget spinner?
There's a female character in any movie. They're always like, well, what's her romance with? Who's the character she has a romance with? I'm like, what if there's no fucking romance?
Yeah.
Like,
That's what I loved about the X-Files. Like legit, like there was no real romance in the X-Files, and they added it. And I think that's when
we
the show.
shipped it. So many people shipped that.
Ship it all you want, but don't show it on screen.
The two leads were too hot. That's the problem.
I was shipping it hard. I've got to say.
I was shipping it hard. I had so much. My first script.
I'm
was
still in love with the fact and so pleased that they did get together. I've got to say.
That's a different. That's a whole. It would have been
That's
like
a whole separate.
That's
a separate podcast genre.
6 hours of
practically,
podcasts. Like,
but it is
getting nice current vibes to the Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz thing, where it's like they're getting I don't know. I guess they put out like a magazine cover for Batman today, where they're just like all over each other or whatever. Like,
but now it's like. But here's the thing, Bonnie. Excuse me. There is, but if I meant to say, like, that's now on like the 1 week timeline. Here's to be clear. I like Batman. I wasn't aware that movie was out, and there's already fan fiction.
No, I wanted to reference that though, because I didn't know that movie was out, and then yesterday I found out. I found out from a bunch of people's statuses, and then seeing that.
I found out when I saw Christina post about it, and I was like, "Oh, is that? Oh, okay, cool." But then, like, the fact that, like, let's go back to.
Meanwhile, Morbius is going to be out for another year.
Well, but so my point here is that, like, with the X-Files, like, that had to play out over the course of literal years. That was like through high school.
Years and years, yeah.
And now it's like that's not even a week now. It's like, oh, it's just a day.
Yeah,
that was about a day.
That was
like now.
That was
that's yesterday.
I don't have enough Adderall for the X-Files. You know what I mean? Like
that was a lifetime commitment. Like you were committed. That was what shows you.
Sam and Diane. You know,
like you just
cheers. Yeah, I mean, it took forever for Superman and Wonder Woman to hook up, so that's in the comics. So we wait sometimes when we know it's going to be good. But with The Thing, I don't want to assume
When they hooked up, it was so amazing.
No. I just wanted to say
When McCready and the Thing hooked up.
Oh my God! Let me finish my sentence.
When chat, whatever, the dog
In
hooked
the
up.
thing, we don't know if they're all straight. That's not ever.
It's
talked
never a
about.
thing,
So we
yeah.
don't know. So I'm
It's
not
almost
just gonna
irrelevant.
assume that they're
Yeah.
all straight dudes. But I
Before we,
will
I was
say
gonna say,
that
before we move on,
I assume
Conan,
maybe
do
they're
you
not
wanna-
because
do you
I
wanna
assume maybe they're not because I
address
never
the
questioned it
theory?
whether they were or not.
what were you saying, Renee? What?
I was just going to say, before we move on to Letterbox, should we touch on the eye theory and the gasoline theory?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Should we do that before or should we do it after? I don't know.
Let's
Force
do it.
your
Let's do it
strategy.
after. Let's throw on
Okay.
Letterbox, and then I'll go.
I'm just
right
throwing
to
it
you,
out there so we don't forget to do it.
Keeping us on track, Renee. Thanks for keeping us on
and
track.
then after we talk about that, I'll play Larry King and Dave Rubin for a
Yeah, you
second.
thought.
Wait, what?
All right, Conan, cue it up.
All right, so we were talking about Siskel, Ebert, all the reviewers.
Oh, yeah.
We were talking. God damn
Bowie.
it.
So let's talk about Bowie instead. He knows how to handle his balls.
All right, Bonnie, come on, settle down.
All right.
I know there's David Bowie and balls both together, and we all get
Image
excited
up.
about
I'm
it.
just reacting.
I know it's one of the best images of all time, so I'm glad it's in the regular canon.
No, I
Letter-
frequently prank Conan by doing that.
No, it's because it
I
always
I get
how
him
can
to
it-
cue something up, and then I just put that on.
It's the best, like like when the Mac is working on something and does the pinwheel, it should be David Bowie like juggling the balls.
Or it could be
instead.
the crash and Mac and me that Paul Rudd always does.
Who can be mad at that? Nobody can.
No
be
one.
mad at that.
No one.
All right, let's do letterbox reviews. Sorry,
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, so Letterboxd, place for film, bottom up democracy. Everyone gets to have their say. No, it's just the Siskels and the Eberts. Everybody gets to opine. They get to crack wise. They get to like have baffling things that they say, and all that is done. It's a bottom up democracy, and the best way that is expressed for the purposes of this show and this bit is in the one line format, and we more or less expand that out, and we bring it on here. People in Letterboxd it's other film fans talking at with and to each other. And this is the Letterboxd one-liners for The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. My dog looks at me. Me. How do I know you're not The Thing? 1982. Featuring Dante from the DMZ series on that one, which that username is as good as the review, frankly.
I'm happy that nobody that you grabbed used the same joke that I made on Letterboxd, by the way.
Me presenting this fine film to my little cousin. Here's the thing. Maddie.
Here's the thing. People.
Here's the thing, people.
Me mom and Peepaw, they used to sit me down and say, "You're Cherokee." And that's the thing.
You're jerky.
No, Cherokee. It's
Cherokee.
It's an Elizabeth Warren reference.
I said it in Elizabeth Warren's voice, so he's doing
it. That's the thing.
Here's the thing, people. R.J. McCready has the best beard ever seen in a film. That's a true fact statement. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, especially when it's all nice and frozen and it has like the, has the layer of ice. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Rock solid beard. Fuck yeah. Yeah, fuck yeah. Fuck
That's why I was excited
fucking
to see
good
him play
beard.
Santa Claus.
Bro, that's the
I
fucking
mean, it's
best
like,
beard
good,
in
he's
the
bringing
game,
beard
bro.
back. He's got the game.
If Putin had that beard, he wouldn't be invading Ukraine right now. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. That's not. You don't know that. Didn't Stalin have a beard? No, Stalin had a beard. I'm thinking.
Stalin did not have a beard.
Castro.
Lenin had a beard.
Lenin had a beard.
No.
Stalin had a
We
mustache.
don't know Stalin's sexual preference.
He liked cats.
What? Is that an actual review?
Well, every time you asked him, he was Stalin. That's the whole
Lenin
thing.
liked cats.
He was like, hey, well, you know, by the way, Russia's pretty cool, right? And you're like, Stalin, just tell me. We're trying to hook you up with somebody.
Oh dear, my mother
Anyway.
several times throughout this. Christmas.
Please continue with the letterbox reviews.
I'm trying. That
was
I'm
it.
trying.
That was it.
That was
That was it. Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, take two, everybody. All right, quiet on the set.
When you get
Oh.
these, are these off of IMDb or are these off of
Funny.
Rotten Tomatoes?
They're off Letterboxd.
Oh,
They're off the site Letterbox. It's a
Okay,
millennial
sorry.
thing.
Sorry.
Here's the thing.
Here's the thing, people. Oh dear, my mother several times throughout this. Crispy.
Oh dear.
First read was better.
Thing.
Still bangs today. Will still bang tomorrow. Will bang for the rest of eternity.
True.
Sound Baker, 5 stars. True
True
fact.
fact.
He's talking about the beard, of course.
I'm like, does he mean he's happy to bang?
I know.
Kurt
Is this a sexual thing?
Because I mean, I'm down, but
Is he
like,
being sexual?
Go find his account and comment. I think
it's a little ambiguous. There.
Yeah. Please clarify your letterbox comment
like,
of February
you know-
19th, 2022.
No,
Kurt Russell
when he
bangs.
says bang, what he means is this is the form of ideology, right?
I thought he was talking about the bangs. Kurt Russell has bangs in this movie.
It's
I
more
thought
fringe.
he drank 3 Bang energy drinks while
More
watching.
fringe than
Oh my
than
God.
that. More of a shag. It's like a shag.
Yeah, it is. It's more like a shag.
Fancy a shag.
Shagworth shag.
All right, here we go. The only downside about the movie is that practical effects nerds never shut the fuck up about it.
Fair.
And why should we,
Fair.
Nick? But
We have
you're
good-
not wrong.
We have good things to say.
Yeah, we've got a
I
lot
was
to
gonna
say,
say-
clearly.
Fuck off, Nick, because
Yeah.
that's my. We talk about the practical effects because they're so important, and no one puts the effort into this anymore. So shut the fuck up, mate.
Also, I'd like to see these like kids that are complaining about the practical effects actually do them. I bet you.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Where's your movie, Nick? Where is
Come
it?
on, Nick.
Where's your fake blood? That
Show
doesn't look
us
like fake
your
blood?
fucking effects, buddy.
Yeah.
So if
Okay.
you could give Nick a
We
star
made
rating,
food
1 star,
trails out of
1 star
Elmer.
It looks like Resident Evil 4, probably. Anyway.
Yeah,
1
let's
star
see.
Nick.
I wish you could reply to
eyeball
people's-
out of,
Can you reply?
You
Yeah,
can
yeah,
totally
yeah.
reply.
Yeah.
Go.
You
Well,
can
they're
totally
both.
reply.
They're
I'm
both.
gonna
to
troll
Letterboxd
everybody.
and just troll these people.
I'm gonna troll them up.
And then link them to this video.
Yeah,
This is where it
I'll
turns
just link them
dark.
all to the podcast. Come on, dudes.
An average day in Chicago. Alex
True.
says.
True. I've lived in
It-
Chicago. I know
It
that.
was windy as fuck in this movie. That's
That's
very
true.
windy.
Right off of
And it was-
Myopic.
It was windy as fuck in Chicago on Wednesday when I was there seeing Gang of Four. But I got to see Gang of
You
Four.
were
so
just
that was
the
great.
King of Four?
With my buddy Dave Pajo on guitar. Goddamn right. It was fucking amazing.
Oh, so lucky. So a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, who there's a wake for at Bottom of the Hill, which I won't be at, but it will for Matt Harris. That I think
For Matt. I know Matt too. I used to play shows with him. We know
So
this.
quick factoid, quick trivia. He passed away. He's a good friend of Conan and I's.
Oranger.
Here's the thing: Gang of Four used to be his babysitters.
Really?
Yeah, his mom and dad knew Gang of Four, and they were members. of Gang of
Yo,
Four. Were his
that is a flex.
babysitters.
That is a straight flex right
That's
there.
why Matt went on to be an amazing bassist for so many bands like Overwhelming Color Fast and the Posies and Orange.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so,
God
you know,
damn.
just keep in mind Gang of Four were once babysitters.
Yeah, you done something cool. Gang of Four is my babysitter.
Oh, that's a band name. That's a band name. That's a good band name.
Exactly.
Anyway, well, yeah, Chicago and the Thing. Very,
Anyway, Chicago's cold. These are
very
facts,
similar.
boys.
And windy.
It's
and windy.
windy, cold creatures.
Also, flamethrowers are awesome. Jack
They are.
Cassidy.
They are.
Yes,
They are.
I don't know why 505 Richmond got tags in here, but flamethrower with exclamation points, a great tag.
Yes.
Horror,
And also,
monster.
my favorite. What's your favorite? I mean, besides this movie, I would say Mandy is also a good flamethrower movie. As is Fury Road,
Yes.
because that's
Yes,
a
it's really
guitar flamethrower.
Yeah, Fury Road has some damn good flamethrower.
You
and-
can-
Which go back to the now classic episode of Mad Max Fury Road with Kira Rossler, Oscar winner for that film for the ADR. You can hear all about
Gotta
it.
say, Aussie pride on that
Yeah, they're
one.
making the second one right now.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, yay!
Anyway, so we all agree flamethrowers are awesome.
Yes,
the dog's
yes.
acting ability was great.
It was.
Yes.
Dogs
This is
are
another
good
thing.
actors.
That's
This
a
is a
very
fact about the
very
movie.
simple review.
Yeah.
More dog actors. Clap
Or dog
emojis.
actors.
Was it Phantasm 2 that had the flamethrower where it was like the homemade flamethrower, or was it Phantasm 1? I
yes.
can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good flamethrower scene too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Puppet
Have you-
Master, one of them. There's like 17 of those movies.
Have
One
you
of them is
guys
good.
done
for
an
everything.
episode about Phantasm yet?
No,
Oh,
No, we have not.
no, and we need to.
anytime. I'll come back for that.
All right.
I have them
Alright.
all memorized.
For tomorrow. No.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Those are good movies, and they're all on Amazon right now. You can watch them all.
Yeah.
There's
Brought to you by
four?
And
Jeff
there's some on
Bezos.
Shudder. There's some on Shudder as well, I believe.
Yeah,
That's some on Peacock, but I don't know if they still are.
This is the longest. This is the longest letterbox.
I was gonna say I would love to finish this bit, but it's we
Oh,
can
go
we
ahead.
can
I'm sorry.
yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, it's
I
fine.
have to cut these into a 2-minute clip.
Go ahead.
Look, Bonnie, I don't have to edit it. It's not my problem.
No, it's fine. It's your mistake having me on these podcasts. I'm a talker and I have attention.
No, we know it.
So
That's
Not
why
my
you're here.
premiere. Not my problem.
I know, and also putting both Bonnie and I together means that we're going to talk.
Yeah,
Just
it's-
happens.
It's not actually a big. I just flip to where the next one is, cut the review part of it, and then put it into it. It's not an actual thing. I just thought it was.
It's
Is
just
this
funny
let's take
because
calls? Let's take calls from viewers right now.
Yeah.
We're on standby. Call in.
Sheridan, Wyoming, you're on the air.
All right. Well, that cues up the after this. That cues up the lurking thing.
Oh my god.
Just a bunch. All right, ready? Here we go, everybody. Just a bunch of guys hanging out, being friends and chilling.
And that's why the one guy that takes care of the dogs looks like the Felix from Chapo Trap House.
They all look like
Anyway,
different shops.
those
all look
are
Before we end,
those are.
before we
I should
end,
mute everybody
I
when
have
I
a
do this.
question for all of you. I have a question.
Can I end the bit, Bonnie, real quick? It'll take like 10 seconds.
Fine. Take 20 minutes, but
Please.
go ahead. It's your show.
It'll take if it, uninterrupted, it only takes about 10
All
seconds.
right, go
Anyway,
for it.
those are letterbox reviews for The Thing, 1980, whatever it is. Follow Movie Night Extravaganza on Letterbox, which is Forrest. Myself, Conan Neutron. Also, J. Andy World's on there. Renee Ruin also on there as well. Renee is awesome. She needs to be on it more. Bonnie needs to join Letterbox. She didn't know what it was. She thought it was like Rotten Tomatoes, like afterthoughts or something, apparently. Letterbox review.
You become the senior editor for Letterbox.
Yeah, Bonnie Burton's the senior
Yeah.
editor of Letterbox as of tomorrow. You would love it, Bonnie. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
That's
I
Letterbox
think
review.
you would enjoy it, Bonnie.
Wait,
It
is
is
it
quite-
another podcast?
it's just an app on your phone.
Oh.
It's like the only social media site that I mean, I normally
No app I don't have. Okay.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
the only one I like, frankly.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll check it out. I'll check it out. Sold.
Wait,
So-
just
so
give me
since-
just give me one. We'll touch
Well,
on-
while you get
15
it
minutes?
queued up-
No way. We're not gonna watch a 15-minute
We're not
clip.
watching-
No. It's just this. It's just the
And
first.
it's
2
a
minutes.
sport
I'm not gonna.
program.
I'm not gonna listen to,
It's just the
to
1
Michael talk about this for.
All right.
I'm not gonna listen to Michael talk about this for 15 minutes. I just
Sorry,
wanna
Bonnie.
say that-
No, I was just gonna ask if you guys ever wanted to do a thing. If you were in charge of the universe, would you do another Thing movie, whether it be a prequel, or a sequel, or no?
I'm gonna field that question. There was one that it was a short story, I think somebody wrote. Are you familiar with this? Where it was done from the Thing's perspective.
Uh-huh.
And I thought that was it actually was really interesting because
Word.
from the perspective of the Thing, it was like, well, I'm trying to, bring all these people, connect all these poor creatures that can't connect with each other, connect everybody up. But the idea was somehow it got to like some Arizona town or something, and it was almost like a spec script sort of deal. But I was like, wow, that's cool. I would watch that.
And then
Did you
the
ever
thing,
read the, comics?
voted down a $15 minimum wage, and I was like, "Get out of here, Thing."
There was a comic book sequel
done.
that was actually kind of interesting where
Christian-
the Thing
wait,
The
Christian-
comic book guy brings up the comic book. Who the
Yeah.
fuck is
Christian,
it?
Keep talking.
Kirsten Thingama. That was my.
No. Keep talking. I want to hear
no,
this.
but the Thing basically it falls in love with another thing.
Oh.
But then they have a very big disagreement of how they are reproducing, and then at the end, McCready shows up and kills them both.
Did you
It's,
just make this up? Because I was.
no, this is a
That's-
Dark Horse comic.
I'm with
miniseries
Bonnie.
of
It sounds like
3
you kind of
issues.
made it up, bro.
This
It's-
sounds like
it's-
me explaining a fucking a dating show where I'm like, well, there's a thing and there was another thing. They
This sounds like a drunk person coming back from seeing a play they didn't understand.
But I like it. I like the premise. I hope that was.
No,
real.
it's like 3 or 4 issues. It's really
Okay, I'll check
short,
it out.
so like it doesn't it doesn't give it much chance to really breathe and explore the story like you want. But it has just enough to be like, wait, that was kind of interesting. Wait,
Okay.
Like I'm not going to sit here and be like the artwork's meh. You know, it's
well, kind of like I'm always a big fan of like the creature point of view or the dog point of view. Like I still wish there had been an episode of Lost where it was just from the dog's point of view because that would have been a great episode.
Where's that Disney Plus series? Exactly.
Well, you know, yeah.
Why
we
is
Pizza
Disney
Dog.
Plus not platforming dog voices? I don't know.
What do they have against dogs?
They had Hawkeye, and they did not do a Pizza Dog episode.
I know. That's for the con. I mean, that's a whole other discussion. But I'm down with the creature point of view and anything. So I'm down with that.
You guys ready for this?
Sports
I'm
talk.
I was hoping he'd forget, but here he is. Right.
Oh, by the way, if you want to find me, okay.
It's not going to be 50. Can I feed the cats? I'll feed the cats.
Put this on the speakers so our guests can hear this and enjoy.
But that gets to what you were saying about this sort of partisan way of just you pick your side, and that's sort of where we're at. And these guys aren't going to dinner with each other anymore or any of these things.
You don't need Republican moderates.
God, he's just hanging alive.
I grew up with a lot of them.
Yeah.
New York Herald Tribune. There's some great Hugh Scott of Pennsylvania. Jake Javits of New York.
Yeah. He's a distant cousin of mine, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Jacob
Great,
Javits, yeah.
Great man.
Yeah.
Great man.
Oh, he's got a phone.
Now let me show you.
Yeah, show us this phone. This old...
is Samsung makes it. I visited that company in Korea.
Yeah.
Oh my
And it's ringing right now.
What is happening?
It is.
He's such an old man.
Hello? Hey, Cannon, where are you?
No, nothing. Not doing anything. Not important.
Let's see if he can sign.
Oh, you didn't have a game today?
Amazing.
I got a list. You got a doubleheader this coming Saturday.
I'm just
How
talking
did
some
you do?
asshole. It's no big deal. Yeah.
Rewind that. Rewind that. Sorry, I laughed over it. It's too good.
You can hear Dave like whisper into Larry.
Whispering.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Boo to ads. Boo.
Yeah, let's just jump to this the pitch real quickly before we get to it anyway, because we kind of jumped over that.
Oh, yeah.
But
Sorry.
while you're watching this right now on Twitch, make sure you please subscribe. And if you want to subscribe and help us out, and you are an Amazon Prime customer, you can join. You can subscribe, and it's free for you, and that helps us out greatly. Also, we're on YouTube. Hit the little bell icon, do all that good YouTube stuff. Comment, get the algorithm going, so it's just people to watch our video next. Watch it all the way to the end because we don't suck. Because that also.
Well, I wasn't going to, but now I'm going to. Thank you.
And
we don't suck on this podcast. We just blow.
That's right.
Subscribe, like and subscribe.
And finally, we have a Patreon. Hit us up on Patreon so you can watch exclusive episodes. I believe Rand will be living as a Patreon exclusive. The bonus half, the what do we call it? The after party?
Yeah, and that's gonna go up on Patreon. Right now, it's on YouTube for everyone to see, but
I'm not on it, so no one will watch it, so it's okay.
There's an after.
It got some big play.
You don't have to treat that like it's a serious statement.
No, I know. I'm just saying. Listen, I'm trying to brag. We did well. We got 10 fucking.
Be on the Patreon. Be on Patreon.com. Movie Extravaganza. It's
Are you on TikTok? Are you on TikTok?
We are. Bonnie, do you think this crew's on TikTok?
Do you remember how?
Apparently,
maybe
John
Renee.
Ross. Apparently, John Ross.
I'm not on TikTok, but
so we're losing.
I'm on TikTok. You just gotta find me. It's mostly just taxidermy videos.
I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna look.
Yeah, I make little short horror films using my broken ventriloquist puppets and taxidermy. So, good luck finding it.
I'm all over, taxidermy TikTok. So there you go.
Yeah,
I'm getting my stalk on.
Yeah,
I'm there, Joe Rogan. So there you go. You know what I mean?
I'm still on Periscope if you want to find me there.
Periscope.
Wow, Periscope. I had one of them for a while.
I mean, my Vine account's still active. Isn't Vine?
Vine. Oh, I fucked with Vine. Yeah.
I liked Vine.
Vine was good.
I fuck with it.
Yeah, there you go. Do you want to do how people can find us, or is that pretty self-explanatory with our?
I think we do that with our final thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if we were there yet or not. It's been a while.
It sure seems like we are, but anyway.
It's been a while since I. Anyway,
so yeah. All right. So now, hold on.
I wanted to say that. Shout out to R.I.P. to Michael Brooks, and I know R.I.P. But shout out to Michael Brooks laughing through the Dave Rubin segment. Every time I see that, because it's one of the funniest clips he did, I just think about like how I missed
it. Is very funny, and it's very funny how little of a fuck Larry King gives about Dave Rubin at that moment in time, and the fact that he feels a call from his kid, and that's amazing.
Speaking of gasoline drinking Dave Rubin, let's hear it.
So and this is, I think, recent issues of I didn't hear about it until like the last 3 or 4 years ago, is that there is a fan theory on the internet about The Thing, that at the end of it, spoiler alert, everybody, for a movie almost as old as I am, that when Childs is sitting down with MacReady, that he hands him a drink. He hands him like a bottle of alcohol, which he takes a swig of, right? And the idea being that they're going to die there, but like at least they can have a drink before they do it. And then MacReady starts laughing, and he doesn't explain why. And the theory is that the bottle is filled with gasoline. And the Thing that doesn't understand what alcohol is, why someone consume it, or what it should taste like, would not pick up that's gasoline. And in fact, Childs is the Thing, which is one of the reasons why MacReady is laughing, because he knows, like, well, I already knew I was going to die, but I guess they got him too. And I think that's a fascinating theory. And it's a theory. Hold on, Andy. Hold on. It's a theory that made me love a movie that I already loved even more, because at this late stage in the game, it made me think about things differently.
Because you missed one other part of the theory, the breath.
And he fell for one of the great blunders.
The breath. Yeah, exactly.
He
fell for one of the classic blunders.
Childs, you don't see Child's breath in that moment either.
Absolutely.
Which is deliberate. I remember
you see MacReady's breath.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, but the idea being that, like, those guys are going to die there, but like the child in that case.
Technically, most alcohol is gasoline, so they could still be bourbon, and that's still just as flammable. So,
but in this case, he specifically was suspicious of Childs.
Well, MacReady is already suspecting that he doesn't believe that Childs isn't the Thing. So that's his way of kind of saying, "Hey, am I fucked? Yes, I'm doubly fucked."
Yeah, well, I think that's why he's laughing, because he already knows he's boned.
He's a goner,
like,
and then there's also
there's
also the second one,
by John Waters.
What's the second theory? What's the second theory?
So the second theory is. Not that recently, I guess, the cinematographer actually came out and said that there is what's called the eye gleam. So anybody who becomes a Thing, you'll notice their eyes that go black. And in that last scene with Childs and MacReady, you can see MacReady's beautiful blue eyes, and there's this eye gleam over him. When they turn to Childs, it's almost like emotionless and black, which is
the way it's shot, especially is
it's the way they shoot the eyes. And so that's supposed to represent that they are the Thing, because it's completely empty on the inside.
And all that is why I'm team gasoline drink, and why I have not changed my username once since the beginning of this episode, maybe for the first time ever on this show, because that's how cool of a theory I think it is.
Yeah,
it's a good theory. I agree with it. I agree with the theory. I think it's a great theory.
I think they're both great theories. And even aside from the eye gleam theory, there's a very stark contrast between light and dark in that scene as well. That's very, like, MacReady's all lit up and like quite heavenly, but Childs is very like when you look at him, the lighting is very dark, and it's almost like he's in this dark corner. It's kind of like a subtle nod to something else is going on here.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Murdering people with alcohol, gasoline, that's a good way to go. Yeah.
And I told that to my bandmate and movie night extravaganza alumnus Tony Ash, which The Thing is possibly his favorite movie, and I blew his fucking mind. It was great.
It is. I highly recommend people go and rewatch it because it's one of those movies that you think you know everything from it, and then when you rewatch it again, you discover things, you pick up on things that you didn't before. So I highly recommend at least watching it like every other year. So that's why I watch it every year. That's my January movie I like to watch. Here's another thing. That movie came out in the summer, and I do wonder if it came out in the winter, if it would have done a little bit better. I don't know why.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Of course so there's something to be said about movie releases, but of course now with the plague, you never know. So they come out when they come out.
Well, I think
Say la vie, say the old folks. It goes to show you never can tell.
You never can tell. By the way, there wasn't very much merchandise that came out with The Thing until much later when it became a cult classic, right?
Well, that was that McFarlane action figure, right? If
the McFarlane action figures, and I think that was it. And then obviously it turned into, I'm sure Funko has bobbleheads.
Well, I think, do you follow that account, Needful Things?
I love Needful Things.
They
make action figures that don't exist.
Yeah, and they have a Thing one.
Yeah, that's a really great account.
I wanted a doggy stuffed animal.
Joe Biden wanted to weigh in here.
Oh, he apparently does, yeah.
What?
You know the thing.
You know.
Self-evident. Sounds corny. Not a joke. Think about it. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. You know how we talk about it. Are we the people?
You know the thing. I really wanted that to have like a clip of The Thing. Is it just that?
Yeah, you just changed the visual. It was like, you know.
Yeah, his face splits open.
Yeah, I was doing last minute stuff like for this episode, and then was like, how can I work this into it? And then I was like, I probably can't, but I'm glad I did.
And you were right.
You try. That's all that matters.
Trust those instincts, Forrest. They're good ones.
No, but I do like the thought of like it's like a really tense moment. Well, I wanted to bring it up because there's really like all the tense moments in this movie, right? And everyone's like, how do we know it's a thing? And then I do like the idea of Joe Biden, like in that tense moment being there and being like, you know the thing. And that being like his full contribution, his full contribution to the discourse of this movie. They're like, all right. How do you know that we can trust you? You know the thing.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I guess he is too senile. He is too senile to be the thing. Like it's too far gone. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. All right, I wish I worked it in better. I wish I thought about it.
It's okay. We do too.
I have faith in you. I know you'll get there.
Yeah, we exactly. We are all things in progress, right?
It'll happen. The thing will happen for you.
The thing will happen for you.
You can't make that a thing. You can't make that. That's just never going to be a thing. Just stop trying to make it a thing.
But I will recommend that all of you guys do watch that movie I mentioned, Super Deep, because it is a Russian version of The Thing, and it's pretty fascinating.
If you say super deep in Russian, I'm going to assume it's an entirely different kind of movie, unfortunately. But now that I know, I know. So
I mean, I could say it in Russian, but I don't think anyone would fact check me. So, очень плохо.
Someone will actually actively cancel it and remove it from whatever streaming service.
No, I actually know Russian. I learned in high school because I had a junior high.
It's Bonnie. Bonnie's the thing.
I had a principal in junior
high. Привет, Bonnie. Спасибо.
Oh, Jesus, forget it.
Bosh moi.
By the way, I meant to say this earlier. And I think Tony kind of took over this.
If anyone wants to hear the story, can tweet me.
You want to hear the story? It's fine. You can.
Tony kind of took over this answer. My answer to whether you can make whether I would remake The Thing is the same as like whether you would remake Invasion of the Body Snatchers, right? Starting with like McCarthyism as a concept, like the same kind of imitate. If I could come up with a concept like that, right? Like where the duplication kind of means something different on the second time around. I think that I would remake this movie based on that. I don't necessarily think I would if I couldn't.
Maybe didn't they make a 2000s version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers that was
don't fix it. It's a masterpiece on its own. Don't touch it. That's
kind of where I'm at too.
Yeah, they already did a remake. It wasn't that
it's you know, if it ain't broke, don't touch it. No need.
I wouldn't remake it. I'm saying if you could continue the story of it somehow, you could think of that duplication as something else.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
The same way that
I think
John
that,
Carpenter
like,
did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like it's just so great a film. I would hate to see anybody try to continue it in any way. Like
I
it
definitely
would
wouldn't
just
try to
take away
continue that.
from it.
I definitely wouldn't try to continue that iteration of the story. But if I was going to be someone that was going to like just thinking that through, like I would, if like, because it's the same thing with, you know, I mean, whether it's zombie movies or any other horror genre, like I feel like you can continue that genre on without using those same characters and being like, oh, this is a continuation of that. I think it's an interesting concept to think about. Like in the age
I
of
think
social
some
media.
films are made for franchising. I think some films
You have to keep in
lend
mind,
themselves to being, being like evolving. But I feel like the thing is something that just doesn't need that. It doesn't need that extra to it. It doesn't lend itself to a continuation.
I guess my pushback would be that it is itself a remake in a way. You know what I mean?
It is. No, it is
No,
an
it is
actual
a remake. Yeah, of course.
So,
but I think
that you could find a way to
remake.
do a social media iteration. I think if you really wanted to. I'm not saying you should, and I'm not saying anybody should, but I'm saying like conceptually speaking, if you wanted to do not remaking The Thing as a movie, but like if you wanted to take that same universe and
Hear me out. The Thing, but they're Russia bots.
I was gonna say The Thing, but prestige television series with Scarlett Johansson as The Thing,
Yeah, they're The Thing, but see, they're on Grinder.
but on drugs.
I was gonna say The Thing, but on meth, like Breaking
Or
Bad.
maybe we make an original. Maybe we make the original film with the Norwegians only, and it's subtitled.
There you go.
like how
Which
what
is
was
what
it?
the 2011 one was. So the 2011 one was half the team are Norwegian because that's the prequel to this one.
But,
So.
but it'll be like Lilyhammer. We'll have Silvio Dante in there for no reason whatsoever. It'll be great.
So I also have to. We forget that a lot of times it's not up to the creator because a lot of times the creator doesn't have full control over the stuff. It's the studio.
The IP.
So that's why you get so many bad prequels. It's because with the same characters over and over is because there's somebody at the studio are like, hey, there's people pay money to see that guy again, so let's just make
this works. So let's just do it again because it's easy.
So keep that in mind.
Bonnie, I my friend, I love you so very much. I don't want you to feel like going away from the show that you didn't get to tell the stories you want to tell. So did you want to tell that earlier story? Because I want to hear it. They don't need to subscribe to your Substack.
I want you to wonder why I know Russian.
I mean,
I had a principal.
I may have heard this story, but the
I've
audience certainly hasn't.
I'm sure I've Grandpa Simpson so much. I don't know who I've told this story to.
Look, I'll railroad these guys all the time. I don't want to railroad.
No, it's I'm a product of the 80s. Like I was in school in the 80s, and I had a principal who was obsessed with Red Dawn, and the movie Red Dawn, the original.
You mean the documentary Red Dawn? Right?
Yeah. When Russians invade Kansas, and he thought it would happen to us. So for 3 years, we were taught Russian just in case. And so
just in case they come.
And then I continued on with learning Russian because I was fascinated with spy culture. And so I just kept reading and also like literature and stuff. So I learned Russian. My Russian's pretty bad. I can talk to cabbies, like I can talk to Lyft drivers, and I know when the subtitles are wrong in a movie.
And you can talk trash to bots too.
And I know when Translate Google is not working properly. Yeah, and I know a lot.
Yeah.
So I know enough to get by in prison probably, but that's about it. Which I think really that's all you need to know any language enough for.
Bonnie Burton behind bars.
Yeah. That was me with Spanish when I got out of high school.
Yeah,
I took Spanish 4, which was technically the fluent class, but I was not fluent.
Yeah, and being able to order drinks in that language drunk, I think, is also a good skill to have.
Same. Yeah. I say Cuba Libre, Cuba Libre.
Yeah. Yeah, I know enough Russian that I know when subtitles are wrong. But yeah, but that's just, it's funny how movies can affect the public educational system in the Midwest.
It is.
fries.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all the Russian I picked up was all like literally dinner table Russian, which is just like when people get too drunk that they forget to like even bother to speak English anymore. So it's
Yeah.
like I picked up all. I know how to, like a champion, let's be clear, like order and like deal with like a dinner table, and including increasingly drunken. We're toasting the parents, we're toasting the grandparents, we're toasting the uncles. These ones over there, they get a toast over there. All that I can keep up with. Anything that has nothing to do with that, nothing. I mean, it's a blank sheet of paper.
But the movie that I was mentioning, it is in English, so you don't have to know Russian to watch that movie. So
what the thing, Bon,
Sorry, Bonnie.
Deep Impact, I think is what it was, right?
No, it's not Super Deep.
Oh, right.
It's not a porn.
Super.
What was it?
It's not a porn.
Super deep.
Shadow Deep.
Super Deep. It's on Hulu. I don't know where it is in Australia.
Don't worry, we are in
I'm
there.
sure I'll be able to find it.
It's a really good movie, and it does have it feels like The Thing. It's very Thing vibe. It takes
For
place
my thing that I was trying to lead up to with my
your thing.
My thing that I was trying to lead up to with my pitch about how I would remake The Thing is that it would be the opposite story, and the vast majority of people in that society would be The Thing at that point. So it would have to be.
Okay. So they've colonized.
Yeah, like it would be after.
That could be a sequel too, right? That could be like the third film.
I mean, isn't Alien Prometheus? Isn't that in the ice as well?
Well, now I don't want to make it.
There's a lot of ice horror movies. It's a very strong genre.
Now that you've compared my new movie that I just pitched to you guys to Prometheus.
Do you not know how Hollywood works? You could repeat things over and over and over. I mean, half the movies that are out now are repeats of other movies that came out. They just rip off the plot.
Yeah, but I'm trying to do something different. You know.
I mean,
that's one of the reasons I liked Free Guy so much. Was literally probably the only time Free Guy we
Blacklist.
referenced on this show, but I liked it a lot.
Oh right, yeah, Free Guy. That was a good one. Yeah,
it was inventive. It was interesting. It was new. Like
it's on Disney right now.
They called it The Thing. I was gonna call it The Thing.
The Thing.
Here's the thing, people.
Here's the thing.
In ice, it could be in the Appalachians, and you could do a whole hillbilly versus alien thing.
We could make about ICE, the government agency, too.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough westerns with aliens in it, so go for it.
Hillbilly versus Alien would be. I would watch the fuck out of Hillbilly versus Alien. But I should go to final thoughts.
So Cowboys versus Aliens, the sequel. No one.
That was the worst thing.
I may be the only one who liked that movie.
I like it. No, it's you and me, Bonnie.
It's just bad enough. It's just bad enough.
I didn't watch it. I just thought that was a new concept you came up with.
No, it's a comic book series. It's really good, by the way.
The comic's way better.
Yeah, the comics are great. I loved Harrison Ford playing a surly cowboy. Like I would love to see him do that again.
I mean, I love Harrison.
The cast
Ford
was
playing
good.
him.
It just
Daniel
wasn't.
Craig, great.
The movie just is missing something.
Look, I'm gonna call point
attempt
of
to wrest control of the show back. Yeah.
And say it's time for final thoughts. I don't want to go longer than 2.5 hours.
Let's do it.
Starting with you, Bonnie. Let's hear some final thoughts.
Oh, my final thoughts?
Yeah. And any plugs you want to throw out there and
okay. Well, I don't know how to do final thought. The Thing is a classic movie about scientists who trust the wrong dog and end up killing each other.
Just like the COVID pandemic. That's what I'll say.
It's a cautionary tale about maybe not all stray dogs are great to have inside the workplace. And if you're gonna drink, make sure you're not drinking gasoline. Maybe that's the final thought. You can
in Puerto Rico, like the most drank because I've been there a bunch. The thing that they advertise everywhere is Gasolina. Like that's the name of it's a pouch. It's an alcohol pouch.
Yeah.
And the company is Gasolina. And so like every time you pull up to a gas station, it's like they have like an advertisement for the Gasolina pouch. Which I assume is kind of
I'm right now because of Hunt a Killer, where I work and I write murder mysteries. It's a little plug there. I'm researching the history of alcohol and the history of moonshine. And a lot of moonshine was basically just either paint thinner or gasoline was.
Yeah.
Well, it's ethanol. I mean, ethanol.
It's ethanol. So basically, you're drinking gasoline in the 30s during Prohibition. That's why we can't have Prohibition again, because we're just going to drink more gasoline. And you can find me on social.
We've expanded way past there. We're drinking nail polish remover now.
It doesn't matter. Like you could drink Scope.
Drink whatever you want.
In high school, we drink Scope, and I'm a big fan of Robitussin as a hallucinogen. So that's just me.
Robo tripping, yes.
My social is right here, Bonnie Girl. That's me on all social media, so you can find me there. And I'm on Twitter a lot. And if you have any horror film questions or comments, I will respond because I never sleep. So that's
one of the only people I like on social media is Bonnie Burton. Thank you.
Aw, thanks. Shucks. That's my final thought.
good.
That's my final thought.
All right. Well, Conan likes Bonnie Burton on social media way more than that. Renee Ruin. Let's hear some.
Boo! My arch nemesis.
Well, I love Renee, so Renee's my
great.
Yes. So
I just wanted to bridge the two.
I know we can bridge it by saying I love Renee. That's how we're bridging.
Yeah, me and Bonnie actually, we love each other a lot.
Yeah, let's start a
and
coven. Let's start a
we
coven.
can't. We follow
I
each
thought you
other.
said you
on
were going to start a
everything,
podcast. You guys are going to.
You know, well,
Coven
we're working
podcast.
on- we
What's
are
the diff,
working on
really?
something. We are working on something.
Yeah, totally. I'll do it.
But final
Spells,
thoughts.
episodes, all
the
of it.
theme.
Yeah, all those stuff.
Yeah.
I think, as I said, it's a classic. It's something that I return to more than twice a year. I think it's in the league of films like Alien, where it's very unique, and it's those practical effects mixed with what I think is a really great cast and great acting in emulating that feeling of isolation, of paranoia, and sort of like not that lack of trust. And then you add in obviously the thing, and I think just all around it really bounces in every direction. And I think that's one of the greatest traits of John Carpenter, is it is able to tell a story regardless of that story in a way that takes in very different elements. And I love that about his films. And I really think that this film transcended the original old film in a way that, only made it better. And if you haven't seen this film, you need to see this film. It's definitely a staple horror film that everyone needs to see. Aside from that, Kurt Russell, I love you. I love your beard. I love your beautiful eyes. You were amazing casting, amazing acting. And yeah, totally a 10 out of 10 for me, always on the thing.
Okay. Good. I don't have anything to add to that. Conan?
Yeah, I mean, so this is one of the great. This is one of the great isolation movies. This is one of the great, who is truly the enemy within kind of psychological films, and it's done as a genre movie, but as Bonnie pointed out, like it goes all the way back to Agatha Christie and like mysteries and things along those lines, but it's done in a way that the tension is taut. And like the special effects being practical don't look aged. It doesn't look like a Resident Evil movie, which I still will watch all of them. But like, it doesn't have that look of like, hey, we ran out of budget and we really need a monster at the end. Okay, it looks like this. Really? Okay, well, whatever. Who cares? There is care and deliberate nature of every piece of this in a way that has people coming up with brand new theories 4 years ago for a movie that's almost as old as I am. And I think that's wonderful. By the way, we never talked about it. One of the taglines for this movie when it came out, man is the warmest place to hide.
Oh, you're
That
a
was the
tauntaun.
trailer.
The man is a tauntaun.
So I love so much about this film. I love the music, which we barely touched on, but the music is astounding. The cinematography is beautiful. All the performances are great, and it's the little things about it that keep me coming back. And this is, Roger Ebert was a dick. Like I like the guy, but he was a dick about this. He didn't get it. Doesn't like genre films. Like this is one of the best. Like it's astounding to me. And I say this is the guy that presented it, that we didn't actually cover this in the original Movie Night Invasion. But it also works as Movie Night Madness as well, because it's deeply psychological. And
we don't have a title sequence.
I forgot to write the theme song, and I'm sorry, I'll do this weekend. But like, this is a great film, and this is a film that has aged astoundingly well. And I love it. This is I get something different out of it every time I see it, and I love that. And I'm totally, again, to be explicitly clear, Team Gasoline Drank over here.
And I think there's a subgenre in itself that, you know, on top of being an alien film, which it like there's a duplication kind of thing, right? And I think that when it comes down to, which is why I kind of pitched my like almost social media idea, which I mean I'm not saying is like a good, you know, remake of it, but I think that over the course of time, like something like, first of all, like the first invasion of the body snatchers with McCarthyism and kind of communism as a concept, like these themes kind of come up over and over again, and kind of the mass culture comes up over and over again, and the idea that, you know, aliens are kind of coming in and duplicating us, and that we end up being this like force that kind of just, you know, throughout the galaxy or whatever, like it just kind of gets replicated. Like I think that in so many different contexts that works.
And that's been something that's been in popular culture since like back like folklore times and things along those lines. And last thing, because I'm generally terrible about mentioning this, it is at the time of this recording Bandcamp Friday, which is a day that people should buy music. I have a new EP out, Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends, Dangerous Nomenclature. Finally put up the t-shirts and hoodies that I've had sitting in the living room for like something like 5 weeks. So if you want to change your apparel, you know, or don't, I don't know, just want something else, go buy that stuff. Yeah, I'm rotten at this kind of thing, but I remembered while you were talking that I should probably mention that because commerce. And the thing is awesome. Thank you.
All right, Andy.
The thing I love about
anyway, that's all the time.
Oh my god!
Oh, let him talk.
You meanie.
That's the brutalized you on that. I do it and laughs. You do it? No. Like I don't know. Yeah. Something about the messenger, I guess.
I guess, yeah. So
Andy.
anyways,
that's all the time we got.
No, it's just because it was how many times. It wasn't a diss at Flacco. It was just how many times have we done it in this episode? Like not again.
It's law of three, my friend. Law of three.
I've never ended a show by saying that's all the time we have. By the way,
Andy, go for it.
Yes, I love the fact that this movie, everything has a backstory. Everything like the characters have been there for long enough where they're already driving each other nuts, which is why like when and I always forget the character's name, but Roller Boy was cranking up some Stevie Wonder there.
yeah, Wonder Boy.
You know, and Mr. I think he's probably racist. Who ended up then hanging out with the dog.
Are these the new names of the characters? Roller Boy and Mr. Probably. I think he's racist.
There's 12 guys in this movie.
Knowles was the character. Knowles.
I'm kind of with Andy on this though. Like, why does that guy have rollerblades in Antarctica? Or
it does seem like a weird choice for a place where you can't skate.
It was an 80s.
I just thought people were just into that in 1980.
It was like 80s thing. Just people for skates. So you know.
So it was fine, you know. But anyways, you know, he's obviously been driving the other guy nuts by blasting his music, and the other guy like hates the, you know, comes really close to using the N-word like my grandparents describe you know, black music.
He just like Twitch for real. Anyway.
Yeah, but you know, it's like you can tell that
he just like that ninja
and
music.
They're already in there on their nerves, and you don't need any backstory for that because they beautifully showed that, and that's part of the reason why this movie works is because you can see they're already starting at each other's nerves on the edges, and then as things ratchet up, everybody gets more and more tense. Which is
ratchet's quite a word for it. No.
You know, I think Andy hits on a great point there. It doesn't tell you about why these guys are on each other's nuts. It shows you, right? And that makes you believe it. And in a way that, like, you know, Bonnie brought this up earlier about, like, you know, the newer / older thing, depending on which one you look at it, like, you know, trying to, like, you know, give everybody backstory and stuff. You don't need any of that for this.
No,
it's
and that's why
duty,
the line,
like being on each other's nuts as you do.
But
just
no,
like
but
this show.
So I busting balls, as they say. No, so a line that I find really fascinating that explains this perfectly is when the Norwegian guy runs through and they shoot him, because of course you do. He's Norwegian, of course you got to.
Dudes being dudes, like I said, exactly.
No, but no. So he's a stir crazy cabin fever. Who knows? Like, you know what I mean? Like it perfectly encapsulates, I think, that dynamic where it's like they're in the middle of nowhere, it's freezing cold. Like, yeah, of course they're at each other's throat this early. The fact that they don't use it on each other, though, that line, and they use it on, the fact that there's, because I really like that trope in horror movies when you see someone go crazy before everybody else in the movie goes
we
crazy.
talked about this in was it oh god, Cabin in the Woods, right? Where the Harbinger, like the Harbinger moment, right? Like, and that's kind of what the beginning of this movie is. Again, if only they were multilingual, they could have saved themselves a whole lot of trouble.
Yeah, no, it definitely is that Harbinger.
I would have saved the dog. I would have still saved the dog. So maybe it didn't matter what he was.
Yeah, I was gonna say, unless Bonnie was there, in which case it wouldn't be a 3-minute movie.
Let's not kill the dog. Let's not do that.
But I mean, it's not. So the guy shooting at the dog, he hits the other guy in the leg. That's when they start shooting at him.
Yeah,
back,
but
which kind of makes it. No, I would too. I have a dog.
I would have
He's a
shot
puppy.
him so he didn't shoot the dog. I wouldn't care about the human.
I have a puppy now. Like I get sad when dogs.
I would be John Wick. I would be John Wick in that science.
Yeah, I can't watch any films with the dog in it without getting teary.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately a big horror film thing is to kill a dog in a horror film right off bat to show evil. So I don't know.
Mostly a John Carpenter thing, apparently. Michael Myers did it within
I can kind of switch it off. I can switch it off for horror, but when it's a regular film, I'm like, no.
Well,
I mean, that's the reason.
Like when she sacrifices the cat in Drag Me to Hell, I'm like, nope, I'm out. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Sacrifice a baby. Sacrifice a human. You don't even.
I don't give a fuck about any of that.
I mean, but I think a big part of the reason that happens is because you sacrifice a human, we all kind of shrug. You sacrifice a pet, everybody is like, no, fuck, that's the pet. Like, which kind of says, whatever.
There's a lot about our society, I guess, but you're not wrong.
And they kind of touch on that in The Sopranos, like my favorite fucking show ever, where Tony Soprano is all teary eyed over every animal, but like it comes to like killing a human, he's like, no, kill that.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, that's
Average Tuesday.
Yeah.
But I think it's the same thing in the horror movie. It's like, yo, I'm gonna feel horrific about the fact that I saw a dog die if I see like another teenager get ripped apart.
Well, it's the old Yeller.
They deserve
They're still making plenty of those.
It's the old Yeller principle of Old Yeller is a perfect example of an old school Hollywood film where a ton of soldiers get killed, but then no one cares. No one cares that half of like almost all the humans in that movie get shot and killed, but the minute Old Yeller is up for execution, you're like, oh, no.
It's like, first of all, how dare you? Secondly, do we have to? Yeah.
Right.
Second of all, I'm trapped down a well and no one's done anything about it.
I get upset when werewolves die. I get upset when gremlins die. I get upset when aliens die. I'm the wrong person to ask about this, but
right, exactly.
Humans, I don't care.
I rarely get it. It's the concept of full innocence.
Is this the death panel? Are we on a death panel right now? Is that what's happening?
Well, I told you at the beginning of this fucking panel, one of you guys is the thing, and I'm rooting it out. And I've been rooting it out.
I have metal. 2
hours and 28 minutes.
I had metal fillings. I have not gotten them replaced with porcelain or resin or any of the fancy shit. I
have metal fillings also.
I have fillings from the 1970s in there and the 1980s that are full silver. I don't even think they're like, it's probably on mercury at this point. I don't even know. Asbestos. I have asbestos fillings.
Asbestos fillings.
I have a foot of metal in my leg. I have to dig around for it a bit. But
yeah, see, as long as
now I'm regretting the bit of not changing my username to asbestos fillings because that's
a little cyanide cap back here. I got lots of stuff. Old school.
Don't worry, we're gonna remove that tooth as best as we can.
Maybe it's you. Maybe you're the thing with that joke.
That's true.
Yeah, that was a bad dad joke.
On the 16th, I'm getting multiple teeth worked on. So
why are you stalling on your final thoughts?
Yeah.
No, that's still my final thoughts. Is it not?
I'm sorry.
I don't think I kind of.
Andy's still trying to get it out.
Final thought sounds like a thing concept.
No, my whole idea is that this movie just feels very well lived in, and I think that's one of the strengths why it works. And
lived in because it's warm. Because it's warm. You're the thing.
Fine, I'm the thing.
Man is the warmest place to hide. Everybody.
Yes. Yeah. We got it.
Let Andy speak, for the love of God.
Nope, that's all the time we got, folks.
Honestly, at this point, I don't think I can really say anything more because it's
Poor Andy.
Anything more?
Andy, take a moment, collect your thoughts.
No,
I give you lots of grief on this show.
No,
and
but,
most of it's
but what I loved about this is that the movie is very well lived in, and you don't get that in a lot of films. Like the Things prequel doesn't feel lived in. In a lot of other horror movies, and you know, some of them are pretty good. Even like because I remember, Bonnie, I recommended to you recently 12-Hour Shift.
Yeah.
It's pretty close to feeling lived in.
Yeah.
But not quite. I don't think it's quite nails it like The Thing does, but it comes really close. I'll give it credit for that. But you know, The Thing's a masterstroke, and 12-Hour Shift is a decent horror movie.
Minor stroke? Would you call it a minor stroke? Yeah.
Absolutely, it's worth checking out, but not like, you know, it's no masterpiece. You know, don't.
It's good. I watched it. It was really good. I appreciate your suggestion. So
Okay, yeah, no. So, but yeah,
appreciate you on this show.
The thing is,
this
though,
is a 6-hour shift. I think
it's lived. It's you know, I love the fact if you create a movie and it feels like a lived-in world, and that's pretty much my.
I think it's a great
thought.
point. I think it's one of the reasons why it has an enduring feel to it, and has brought on entirely new audiences that weren't even around when this came out. It's because it has that lived-in feel, and it doesn't look. We did both Dunes, and I even talked everyone to watching the very, very extended cut where it's like, here's like the video game exposition scene of 15 minutes of like telling you what is going on. And I'm like, oh God, what a terrible idea this was when I watched it.
It was the bad musical cuts that drove me nuts. But
wow, sure. But like what I'm saying is that you don't need any of that here. Like
I wanted to David Lynch somebody by the end of it. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, but this goes back to Bonnie's point of showing, not telling. And that's what makes this so special and cool, and why I just keep coming back to it all the times. And again, Team Gasoline Drank, fourth reference, is that's a 4-year-old theory.
I think it's a little older than that, but yeah.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I think I heard that before. But I think it wasn't online.
It didn't exist. Just like there's no episodes of this show that I'm not on. It didn't exist until I read it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But what I'm saying is it's recent, right? So this movie still sparks the imagination.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's taught in film school. So I mean, not only does it resonate with fans, it resonates with filmmakers, and you can tell in a lot of these younger directors and screenwriters, there are Thing references all throughout other horror films. So it definitely has left its mark in a positive way on both fans and creators. So
which is also what I find fascinating about John Carpenter, is that he references these movies 20 years before he was making anything. You know what I mean? Like, he puts himself in that history, like the historical context, and says like, oh well, like, because we've watched. We watched this, but we also watched. We watched a whole bunch of John Carpenter movies, and every single time beforehand, he talks.
We haven't watched Vampires, which is a discipline in and of itself to watch Vampires.
Oh, is that the one?
Ghosts of Mars?
I've watched that a few times. I've watched Ghosts of Mars, not more than twice, but I have watched Vampires a few times.
Vampires is fun.
So what I'm trying to say is that he.
Sorry, my bad. That was my bad.
No, but he puts his films in a context of movies that that aren't necessarily looked at as masterpieces, right? Like that. But are kind of this very early 50s genre of like monster movies, and he puts his own movies within that context. I am gonna cut it short here, as long as everyone's got everything out of the way that they want to say.
Did you figure out who the Thing was? Who was it? You don't see any in my breath. You don't know what's in this drink.
It was me. I was the Thing.
I think it's you. Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's you.
It's you.
It was me. I was the Thing the whole time. And you know what? I infected like 12 people by the end of this.
Yay!
Anybody? My final thoughts. Reach anybody. We're 1,000 miles from nowhere, man, and it's gonna get a hell of a lot worse before it gets better.